The year the college entrance exams were reinstated, my fiancé, an educated youth, met with an accident on his way back to the city. All he left me was the news of his death, 10 yuan, and 3 jin of grain ration coupons. I cried so much I lost the sight in one eye, and through gritted teeth, I gave birth to our child out of wedlock. Decades later, my hair had turned white from exhaustion, and my body was racked with illness. While selling street food, I unexpectedly ran into him back in our hometown. He had brought his wife and children for a nostalgic visit. In the prime of his life, with a beautiful wife and beloved children, he returned home in glory. Pointing in the direction of my house, he said, "I was sent down to work here back in the day. Country women, driven mad by poverty and desperate to get to the city, would do anything. Once you got involved, you couldn't shake them off. If I hadn't told her I was dead, she'd never have given up." My whole body trembled, and a hot rush of blood surged to my head. As I reached for the pan of hot oil from the street vendor's stall, he suddenly recognized me, panicked and tried to turn the car around, only to crash head-on into another vehicle. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to being 18 years old. The news of the college entrance exams reinstatement had just broken. My parents were still alive and well. Yi Jianba had just returned to the city to visit family. Rejected by the love of his life, he came back in a huff, frustrated and resentful. In my past life, he sought solace in me and took possession of me. This time, there's still time for everything. 1. Yi Jianba had been staying at my place until he returned to the city. He was a good-looking man. The young women and wives from the surrounding villages all loved to watch him, but he didn't fancy a single one of them. There was plenty of farm work, but the local villagers looked out for the educated youth, giving them lighter loads. The fine wheat flour and meat the villagers could hardly bear to part with all ended up in the bellies of the educated youth. Yi Jianba was too thin-skinned to push his way in and grab some, so he always ended up with nothing. His face was dry and sallow. During the new year, I helped my uncle slaughter the hog. We gathered the bristles to make brushes and traded them for half a jar of lard. I would hide that lard in the meals I brought him every day. His complexion finally began to improve. Those 3 years, I grew from a little girl into a young woman. Yi Jianba was one of the teachers in the literacy class. After seeing my handwriting and arithmetic, his gaze lingered on me more and more. "You have a real gift, Aseong. You're truly different from the other girls." He was still hiding the handwritten poems, waiting for you, in the rain that weaves a rainbow. The cicada's drone subsides, the frog's chorus rises, as he read the poem. His gaze was warm and focused, falling upon her in the sunset light, filled with a profound tenderness. That's what drew me in back then. I was 16 when they showed the movie Green Pine Ridge in the next village. Everyone went in small groups to see it. That day, I fed the pigs early, got myself cleaned up and changed, dried my hair in the sun and braided it, all before fending off my friends who came to fetch me. He wasn't in the mood. Everyone at home had left. I went back and called to him again. "Let's go. It's a rare, perfect day to relax." He suddenly grabbed my hand. "Ah Xiang, you've been spending a lot of time with Fu Xingyang and his crowd lately. Are you trying to make friends with them too?" Fu Xingyang is an educated youth too, and he's quite easy to talk to. I was just borrowing a book from him. Easy to talk to? Hardly. His family doesn't even bother with him. And he's full of bad habits. Don't pay him any mind from now on. He was jealous, and that day, under the setting sun, he kissed me. He confessed he'd liked me for a long time, said he'd made up his mind, and that he was willing to stay for me. How could someone so inexperienced possibly resist a kiss? I accidentally hooked my arm around his neck, and his whole body trembled. The moment I touched his waist, he jolted as if shocked. He's grown more and more infatuated with me. He says he wants to have all of me. I was shy and refused, that is, until tonight, too. A loud crash from outside snapped me back to reality. My mother came back pushing a flatbed cart, sweating profusely. She had secretly sold vegetables from our private plot to get fabric ration coupons and buy new cloth. She called me outside to take my measurements. When the measuring tape wrapped around me, I burst into tears. I turned and hugged my mother, who hadn't yet been made ill by the gossip. My mom laughed. "Silly child. Is a dress really worth crying over? My sweet Xiang is so lovely. The best days are still ahead of us." Yes, the best days are still ahead. Once we get through this year, the large-scale return to the cities and the reinstatement of the college entrance exams will begin. The first year's exam wasn't particularly difficult. Because of Yi Jianbai's death, I had pored over that year's exam papers so much they practically developed a patina. I remembered every single character and symbol with perfect clarity. The rain outside was coming down harder and harder. My father told me to take an umbrella to Yi Jianbai, who was at the educated youth office on business. I refused, and at dinner, I added a spoonful of lard to mix into the rice for my parents and myself. I didn't leave any for Yi Jianbai. After eating, I went back to my room. Outside, thunderclaps rolled one after another. That night in my past life, Yi Jianbai came back from Director Zhang's house, his eyes bloodshot. He grabbed me in a tight embrace right at the doorway. Axiong, I can't go back anymore. There's no one waiting for me at home. He buried his face in my chest, tears spilling out. Then, clumsily, he lifted his head to seek my lips. My heart softened in that moment, and I didn't refuse him. I let him guide me into the workshop. On the rough windowsill, he leaned over me from behind. Foolishly, I was still trying to comfort him. It's okay, everything will be fine, even if we can't go back. We can still take the college entrance exams together. I can take it too, right? He let out a muffled gasp and murmured, Little did I know. The real reason was that his childhood sweetheart had broken up with him that day. Heartbroken, he used me as a substitute to vent his feelings. Even more surprising, they got back together the very next day. He regretted it, yet he kept coming back to me. When he was infatuated, he sweet-talked me over and over, promising to propose as soon as his exams were over. The night before he left, he insisted I see him off. He stopped several times along the way. Xiang, I'll love you forever. I'll always be thinking of you, he said, again and again. Later, my period was late. My parents had an inkling of what was going on. At this point, all we could do was grit our teeth and wait for him to make things right. But who would have thought that once the exams were over, he just vanished. 3. The door creaked open. Jianbai is back. He stood in the kitchen for a moment. Seeing that I hadn't brought him his meal as usual, he walked over to my door. He knocked. Xiang, are you asleep? You know I'm asleep and you're still knocking. Are you insane? Outside the door, braced by the wooden stick, everything fell silent. That night, I slept more soundly than I ever had before. The next day, I woke up feeling refreshed and clear-headed, and walked to the kitchen. He actually got up and even took the initiative to get me a meal. Morning, Axiong. I ignored him completely and just got another bowl for myself. After eating, I went to find my uncle, who was the team leader. The educated youth take turns staying with local families. Yi Jianbai has been at our place for so long now, isn't it time for a change? Uncle looked at me in surprise. But it was you who begged me not to switch him out before. We still have to follow the rules. Let's switch. We'll do it today. I walked out the door, then turned back to look at this elder who would later pass from lung cancer. Uncle, you should cut back on that pipe. They say you're smoking away your good fortune. Uncle chuckled in exasperation as he put away his tobacco pouch. You little brat, he asked again. Then who should we get instead? Lu Shanxue, a female educated youth who had gone mad after being unable to return to the city, yet who once ran 5 miles to fetch a doctor when I was giving birth. 4. When Yi Jianbai returned from the literacy class, he found all his belongings coldly bundled up and piled at the doorstep. Too proud to lose face, he left without a word. On his way to work, he took a detour to find me. His eyes darted as he thought carefully. Don't listen to those rumors. Li Sanmei from the neighboring village did try to give me gloves, but I refused, and as for the steamed bun Sister Wan gave me, I shared it with you when I got back. Is this about Lu Shanxue? She's the only female educated youth in our group. We've exchanged a few words, but with her looks, how could she possibly compare to you? I told him there was nothing between us and to leave me alone. He didn't believe me, grabbed at me, and we both ended up tumbling into the ditch. We were both soaked through. Don't be mad. Is it because I kissed you the other day? I won't do it again. Let's just take things slow. Okay. His body was more honest than his words. There was already a reaction in close proximity. I was suddenly overcome with disgust. I shoved him away, and this time he was genuinely angry. If you want a proper title, if you want to go public, I can agree to that. He stood his ground, waiting for me to throw myself into his arms. The fellow villagers heading to work heard the commotion and came over to pull us apart. Someone caught on to what was happening and started jeering, asking questions. Oh, what's the relationship between you two? Yi Jianbai looked at me with a faint smile, raising an eyebrow. He had that smug, condescending look on his face. Indeed, for an uneducated country girl to catch the eye of an educated youth from the city, what a stroke of incredible luck. In the past, men like them only had to crook a finger, and countless young maidens and married women would blush and flock to them. Not even the ban on romance among the educated youth could stop it. I brushed the water off my clothes. I gave a cold, scornful laugh. What's our relationship? I'm his creditor, that's what. He borrowed $18 from my family, and I'm here to collect. The onlookers finally caught on. Oh, so you're here for the money. Yi Jianba's face turned ashen. He lowered his voice. Qi Guixiang, your little act just cost you your last chance to change your fate. Ugh, my chance to change my fate is after May, with the college entrance exam. What does he have to do with any of that? 5. When I got home, my parents still didn't understand. But hasn't Jianbai always been good to you? What's wrong? Yes, he was very good to me. Last year, I accidentally cut my foot while harvesting wheat. There was no medicine. After hearing an old folk remedy, Yi Jianba went around collecting cobwebs and nearly got bitten by a snake. His heartache was written all over his face. He would have gladly taken my place. After all that commotion, everyone knew there was something between us. Now that we've fallen out, half the village is watching the drama unfold. People heard I wasn't sleeping at night. They all said I'd gone mad with heartbreak after Yi Jianbai dumped me. I wanted to borrow books to study, but Yi Jianbai, leveraging his connections with the head of the Educated Youth Office, declared that anyone who helped me was crossing him. He made it seem like I was just being spiteful and wasting state resources. Everyone else laughed. A country girl wanting to take the university entrance exam. She's lost her mind with daydreams. My mother tried to talk sense into me. Don't hold a grudge against Jianbai. Let's be realistic. It's not just our village. Our entire county might not produce a single college student. The teacher at the village school said the same. Xiang, it's not that I won't lend you the books. The college entrance exam isn't something you can cram for in a couple of days. There's Chinese, math, and that dreadful English. Even if you tried to cheat on the spot, you wouldn't have time to copy it all. My parents sighed. Just accept your fate. Xiang, we're country folk. Born to work the land, we can't shed the skin. Only Lu Shanxue, who brought me the textbooks with his head bowed late at night, said nothing. She wordlessly handed me 2 worn-out textbooks. Aren't you going back to the city to take the exam? My family only has 1 room, with my brother and his wife married and living there. 5 people are crammed in. My mom told me not to come back, just to send a little money if I can. I reached out and took her thin, misshapen hands in mine. In her past life, Lu Shanxue never made it home. The Educated Youth Office had promised her a job in the county town, but less than 2 months later, she returned covered in wounds. She would scream at the slightest touch. After she lost her mind, a lame man from the village married her. She was beaten often, and would always hide in our family's haystack. When I was heavily pregnant and other children threw mud at me, she would chase them away. She'd end up covered in bruises herself, all the while telling me to run and hide. I looked at the pale, emaciated girl before me. They say I'm crazy for wanting to take the college entrance exam. What do you think? A fleeting, bitter smile flashed in Lu Shanxue's eyes. I smiled. So, wanna go a little crazy together? 6. The college entrance exam is no walk in the park. No teachers, no textbooks. The educated youth would laugh the moment they saw me. Look, the college student is back on the job. The villagers laughed too. They're betting on you. You know, betting whether you can even score a 10 in a single subject. Le Shangsu's face flushed red, and he stammered in protest. Xiang is very smart. Alright, 20 points it is, 1 point more, and my family will supply your family with vegetables for a year. 1 point more, and my family will supply your family with rice for a year. They all laughed and joked around. I laughed too and said, got it, noted, thanks, everyone. Little did they know, in my past life, I practically wore out the exam papers from that year, having died in the college entrance exam because of Yi Jianba. With no support from my family, Lu Shanxue and I worked during the day and studied at night, eating better at my house. Lu Shanxue filled out a bit, revealing a delicate and refined appearance. My brother started paying attention to washing his face, tidying up, and saving portions of food. One evening while we were both reading, he unexpectedly brought over a plate of wild loquats. Each one was a bright, golden yellow and had been washed clean. Lu Shanxue's face flushed slightly. I held her hand and closed the door. Sister Shanxue, these loquats have been growing right there, ripening every single year. In 20 years, my brother has never once done this for our parents, but this year, he picked them for you. You should understand what that means. But in the future, don't be moved by this kind of thing. Anything he can do, I can do too. For a few cents, any kid in the village could bring you back a whole basket. We need to study hard. Later, you'll see that beyond these mountains, there are all kinds of loquats, bigger, sweeter ones. If you still think you like these wild ones, then you can try them again." Shanshue was taken aback for a moment. "It's just, I've never felt like there was anyone." She steadied herself and withdrew the hand holding the loquat. The burning rushlight stung my eyes with its oily smoke. My eyes were red and sore every day. 7. Midway, Yi Jianbai sent another educated youth to find me. First, to repay the money, but he only gave back 8 yuan. Second, to offer me a way out. He said his neighbor needed a live-in maid, room and board provided, but no wages. He promised to find time to visit and tutor me. I threw him out. Who does he think he is? Planning someone else's entire life. Get out, get out, you make me sick." Yi Jianba, who had been hiding nearby, flew into a rage and slammed his hand against the door. "Stop pretending. I know exactly what your education level is. We've already kissed, so why are you putting on this cultured act in front of me?" My mother's face instantly went pale. "Jianbai, don't talk nonsense." "I'm not talking nonsense. TSK. She closes her eyes whenever I kiss her. She's quite practiced at it." He lowered his voice. "You don't need me to tell you how important a country woman's reputation is, do you? Come with me now. And there's still time." So he does understand the importance of reputation, how gossip can destroy a person. In my past life, for 20 years, he insisted on sleeping with me and getting me pregnant before he left. Then he abandoned me, pregnant, in the countryside and pretended to be dead. Did he have any idea what kind of hell he was leaving me in? His wickedness was never something that developed later. It was rotten at the core from the very beginning. The higher such a person climbs, the greater the harm they cause. He stared at me. His eyes held nothing but resentment and possessiveness. It was completely different from the slight impatience he showed towards me in our previous life. After he had gotten what he wanted, "Get the hell out of here," I hurled an enamel mug at him. Cracking his head open, he clutched his head, and just then, Lu Shanshue had already set the dog loose. Yi Jianba and his crew scrambled away, leaving behind a final threat. "Then you can all just wait to be finished off together." 8. For the college entrance exam, I had to travel to another city, short on money. Lu Shanshan and I set off on foot early. When we reached the village entrance, my mother gave me a protective talisman. "Forget about the exam for now, just make sure you stay safe." I gave them a hug. And they seemed a little flustered by it. When Lu Shanshue and I arrived at the exam hall, I unexpectedly ran into Yi Jianba. He was wearing the gloves I knitted for him last year. He always used to say they were ugly, so I thought he'd thrown them out long ago. He looked at me and said, "A woman who's this stubborn won't get far. Did you go through all this trouble and expense just to spite me?" A delicate, girlish voice, its owner's face likely dotted with freckles, piped up. "Jianbai, who is this?" Upon hearing my name, Su Yiman raised an eyebrow. "So this is the woman you wanted to recommend as a nanny for my family," she said coldly. "She looks rather cheap. She'd be better off with my neighbor's disabled son. They'd be a perfect match." Before I could even get angry, Lu Shanshue snapped, "Aren't you two a perfect match? One's physically disabled, the other's mentally disabled." A fight was about to break out. Yi Jianba chose to back down. "All right, man. They're both from the countryside. They're probably just trying to rile us up to mess with our exams, so getting angry could affect your exam performance." I couldn't help but snort with laughter. "Yi Jianba, you can't even grasp basic linear algebra. Your understanding is a complete mess. Can you even tell terminal velocity from acceleration? And you still have the nerve to sit for the exam." "Su Yiman, Jianba doesn't dare." "And you think you do? A country bumpkin like you wouldn't pass even if you tried. And what if I do pass? Su Yiman, if you actually get in, I'll fry a fish on the palm of my hand for you." I chuckled. "Don't be disgusting. If I get in, he can streak naked all the way around the university." Su Yiman sneered. "Fine. And if you don't get in, then you streak." "You dare." Lu Shanshue stepped forward. "If she fails, I'll streak. If she succeeds, you streak." "Deal." Su Yiman agreed without hesitation. "Deal. May whoever fails be cursed with a lifetime of bad luck." A faint smile touched my lips. Yi Jianba stared at my smiling face, momentarily lost. Xiang, why are you being so stubborn?" 9. The exam went exactly as expected. You can check your scores on the radio in just a month. Actually, we had already submitted our university preferences before the scores even came out. Both Lu Shanshue and I chose universities in Beijing, after checking his score and returning Lu Shanshua's hands wouldn't stop trembling, his face completely drained of color. I kept my head down and went back to work. The villagers waiting in the courtyard weren't exactly surprised. See, I told you there was no way he'd pass. Even the teacher from our village school took the exam and said he couldn't understand half the questions. He only scored in the 80s, what a waste of several days. Everyone scattered in an instant. Shanyue gripped my hand tightly, struggling to suppress the turmoil in her heart. Why can't I even tell my own family? Last year, second aunt secretly grew a patch of chives at home and even shared them with the neighbors. But just because she swapped for an enamel mug at the county fair, the chives were all dug up by the roots the very next day. Good fortune must be kept hidden. And one must learn to endure. Xiang, I'll do as you say. Another month passed, and acceptance letters began trickling in one after another, with the newspapers publishing daily announcements of the good news. I was busy making a suitcase out of old planks of wood for Shanshue and me. The courtyard suddenly came alive with noise. It was Yi Jianbao returning. He was beaming with pride, and we heard about his score of 210 even before he arrived. I was taken aback for a moment. That was a full 30 points lower than his score in my previous life, given this year's admission scores. If he insisted on applying to that same university in Shanghai from his past life, his current grades simply wouldn't make the cut. The villagers showered him with flattery. He slipped into the tool shed, saying he wanted to give me one last chance. Xiang, I've talked to Man, since you've looked after me for so long. If you can't make it here, you can come with me to Beijing. You could start as a housekeeper for one of her relatives. It's better than staying in this village. With your reputation and having missed out on school, what future would you have if you stayed? With that, he placed his hand on my shoulder. I turned around, and his gaze instinctively fell to my lips. After all these years, I do have feelings for you, of course, he said. Ever since I went back, I keep dreaming of you. I don't know why, but it's always this tool shed. I froze. Had the events of my past life really just been a dream? His voice dropped low as he pressed against the window frame, his fingers tightening with restraint. It's raining outside. You were standing right here, leaning over in this exact spot. It felt so real. Xiang, I've missed you. I've missed you so much I can hardly sleep. I've always felt, this is how it should be. You were meant to be mine. His eyes held a raw, undisguised desire. Come with me. Have you made up your mind? Just then, a sudden cry rang out from outside. Good news, it's here. He passed the exam. He passed. 10. The one who arrived was the village cripple, Shiguang. In my past life, he stole Shanshue from me, and I've always found him repulsive. The day after his mother died, he blocked the path and demanded money, refusing to let anyone pass to attend the funeral unless they paid. The moment you step through the door, they're asking for money. Yi Jianbao was overjoyed. How did the good news chase me all the way here? Who's come to fetch me? The lame man pushed him aside. He says it's the good news for me and Shanshue. He ran here as fast as he could to deliver it. The postman is on his way, and the town officials are coming too. Yi Jianbao simply didn't believe it. How could that be? Both of them, they both passed. You might as well tell me the village school teacher passed. A sudden realization dawned on him. Oh, I get it. You're in cahoots with them to trick me, aren't you? I know you've got a soft spot for Lu Shanshue. You're helping her, right? The lame man was hopping with frustration. It's true. I came to fetch Qi Guixiang. If you don't believe me, come along and see for yourself. Yi Jianbao was even more skeptical. Just then, the people sent to fetch him arrived outside. He held the door frame, giving us a sympathetic glance. Qi Guixiang, this is your last chance. Are you coming with me or not? Man is kind and not snobbish. If you apologize to her sincerely, she's not that difficult to talk to. If you don't leave, well, you'll be stuck like this for the rest of your life. No sooner had he spoken than a clamor of music and commotion erupted outside. A crowd of people had indeed arrived. Lu Shansu, who had just been outside washing clothes, walked at the front of the group. The basin in her hands had already been taken by someone. In that instant, her lips were pressed together. But her eyes were smiling as tears suddenly welled up and rolled down her cheeks. I smiled faintly. The others came pouring in with a clamor, and 2 neighbors had already been sent to fetch my parents and eldest brother. Stop watering the plants. She got in. Your daughter got in. A university in Beijing. Nonsense. Not a university in Beijing. It's Peking University. My parents were pushed over in a daze. He took in the scene before him, then turned to me with a dazed look. I reached out and took the postal notification with both hands. A dead silence fell all around. I turned my head to look at a few familiar faces from the village. Third brother Lee, you said it yourself. If I score even 1 point over 20 in any subject, you're buying my family's groceries for a year. Ninth brother, you're the one who promised to supply my family with rice for a year if I got more than 20, this time. Their playful smirks vanished, they switched to awkward, hollow laughter instead. Xiang, these are all your elders from the family, they're just encouraging you. We could tell you were clever all along. That's right, this child has been special since she was little. When she was born, the whole room was bathed in a red glow, and the family gravesite caught fire. Isn't that a sure sign of the ancestors bestowing their blessings? Only Yi Jianba, standing off to the side, looked as if he'd been struck by lightning. How is this possible? How? I only got a little over 200 points. How could she possibly have over 300? Did they add up the scores from all 8 subjects, arts and sciences combined? He reached out to snatch my admission letter, but several people immediately grabbed him and pulled him away. Impossible. That can't be right. It's definitely wrong. I looked at him and gave a light smile. Well, getting into a Beijing university with a score of 200 is indeed impossible. Maybe you could try applying to a school in Hubei with lower requirements. Yi Jianba flew into a rage. I'd rather die than apply to a school in Hubei. Perfect. In his previous life, he managed to secure a government position in Hubei by being the second choice. A real stroke of luck. 11. Yi Jianba turned to leave in a huff. I stopped him. Wait. Still simmering with anger, he nonetheless stood his ground. What is it, Qi Guixiang? Don't think for a second that just because you lucked into getting into university, you're suddenly good enough for me. My family has an urban household registration. I want to ask you about the 10 yuan you still owe me. When are you going to pay it back? Trying to run off and weasel out of it. In my past life, the 10 yuan he left me with disgusted me for a lifetime. In this life, I won't yield a single cent. Yi Jianba's face flushed crimson, but he couldn't come up with the money. How have you become so mercenary? It's only 10 yuan. Is it really worth all this? I watched him with a cold stare. 10 yuan was a whole month's work points for me. That's enough to buy 40 caddies of rice, 200 caddies of Chinese cabbage. It would even cover a year's tuition for middle school. Back then, he said a relative was sick. I lent him the money I'd saved for years and told him not to rush to repay it. I only found out later he used it to buy a gift for his partner. Just as he was flushing with shame and anger at being unable to produce it, a woman's voice sounded from outside the door. Su Yimin said she would provide it. That haughty, condescending tone was exactly like the one from her previous life, when she had revisited this place, fanning her chin with a silk handkerchief. The pockmarks covering her face were particularly conspicuous. She looked at us with disdain. Jianbai, you too, we're from Beijing, why bother arguing with a bunch of country bumpkins? It's just a bit of money. My mom said she'd give me 50 when I got into university. As she finished speaking, her eyes lit up at the sight of the red gong. All this commotion, is it to celebrate you getting in? You must have done really well. You even chased us down here to share the good news. Wow. Let me guess, Peking University. Jianbai, why do you suddenly look so pale? I couldn't help but snicker. Su Yimin frowned. What are you so happy about? My Jianbai getting in has nothing to do with you. I called out to my brother, calm and unhurried. Brother, could you fetch a soft-shelled turtle from the back pond for me? Su Yimin said if I passed the exam, she'd fry a fish for me with her bare hands. Su Yimin was instantly flustered. You passed? How on earth could you have passed? Lu Shanxue smiled at her. I passed too. We had a deal, remember? How did the two of you plan to make a run for it? Word that the two of them were going to streak through the village caused an uproar, with even the local cripple desperately shoving his way to the front for a prime view. Starting now. Can we join in? Su Yimin immediately had second thoughts. Flushed with shame and anger, she turned to flee but tripped and fell flat on the ground. Sobbing pitifully, I shouted a reminder. Don't forget what you said. Bad luck for life if you don't keep your word. 12. Both Shanxue and I went to Beijing. University tuition was free, and jobs were assigned upon graduation. My grades were good, but my actual foundation was weak. I chose the foreign languages department. On my advice, Shanxue chose the radio electronics department, which merged into the computer science and technology department that same year. University life was completely different from before. I gave up all pointless socializing and devoted all my time to studying. Standing on the shoulders of history, I dared not waste a single moment. I never expected to run into Yi Jianbai again one afternoon while studying. By then, he had taken over his father's position at the dyeing and printing factory. He said he had been looking for me for several days and had even followed me a few times. He had cleaned himself up and came to make peace with me. I admit I was a bit immature before. I've been working this past year and I've earned some money, so let me take you out to dinner, Xiang. I've also been studying for the entrance exam. I'll get into Peking University next year. I know it. He adopted a humble tone. As for that Su Yimin, I only ever saw her as a little sister. Please don't misunderstand. My mother heard you got into university. She came to see you the other day, and she was very impressed. She said she's decided she wants you as her daughter-in-law. A smile was on his face, and his tone carried a hint of pleading that was hard to detect. In his hand, the string bag held gifts I had given him before. Look, I've kept all these things. What happened with Su Yimin before? It was all arranged by our families. We were stuck together in the countryside for so many years. Xiang, you know me better than anyone, don't you? My eyebrow twitched. I called out to the class monitor who was passing by and lightly hooked my arm through theirs. Yi Jianbai, I forgot to introduce you. This is my partner. Yi Jianbai froze for a moment, utterly incredulous. Your partner? You have a partner? You're studying and attending classes every single day. When would you even have the time to find a partner? Have you been seeing someone behind my back all along? His fingers tightened. Are you just trying to piss me off? Is that it? You'd ruin your own reputation just to get a rise out of me. A woman being with one man and then moving on to another. Let go of me. Impossible. I will never let you go again. It wasn't until I returned to the city that I realized we were meant for each other. And I finally understood all you did for me. Have you forgotten, Xiang? You were afraid I'd get sick, so you'd get up in the dead of winter nights to heat the Kong for me. You'd hide the precious lard you saved at the bottom of my rice bowl. You even collected the scrap paper I threw away and turned it back into practice sheets for calligraphy. Students began to gather around. I shook my hand free. Show some respect. Yi Jianba, your fiancé is here. Are you really going to act like a scoundrel right now? He froze for a moment, then let go. Before Su Yimin could even start crying, the security guards arrived. A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd. How shameless. He has a fiancé and yet he's still pestering someone else. It's clearly his own fault, yet he blames the woman. Honestly, the guy she chose is way better than him, a perfect match. They're two of a kind. Yi Jianba's face turned ashen with rage, and he shot a venomous glare at Su Yimin. What are you doing here? The two of them started arguing right then and there. The class monitor glanced at me. Classmate Chi, the teacher wants us to go move the books. 13. There weren't actually any books to begin with, as we rounded the bushes. The class monitor asked, don't worry, it's all over. Do you need me to go and have another word with security? That guy won't give up until he's hit a brick wall. He'll never back down until he sees me truly in love with someone else. His face flushed slightly. I let go of his hand. Thanks, monitor. I'll go report to the teacher first, so we don't cause any trouble for the school. With the teacher's support, the rumors about Yi Jianbai were completely quashed before they could even spread. On separate occasions, he tried to pose as a gardener and a vegetable delivery man, but the security guard stopped him before he even reached the gate. 14. After that, I didn't see Yi Jianbai for a long time, naturally. He wasn't among the new students the following year either. However, Shan Shui did run into him once outside. He told Shan Shui I was nothing special, and that he'd find a girl 1,000 times prettier than me. He was obsessed with his appearance. He broke up with Su Yimin for good. I recalled that in a past life, he had brought Su Yimin back to revisit the old place, and the blemishes on her face had mostly faded away. In his conversations, it was also clear that Su Yimin's family had given him a great deal of support. In this life, it seems he has completely changed the course of his destiny. Looking back at where our paths crossed, it's as if I'm reclaiming the script that was originally meant for him. I dare not squander this gift from fate. I just cut out the newspaper articles one by one. After graduating, I didn't choose to become a journalist, nor did I consider going abroad. Instead, I chose to go to Shenzhen. When Yi Jianbai heard the news back in our hometown, he made an excuse about attending a temple fair and came to stay for a few days, waiting for me. A country bumpkin will always be a country bumpkin. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. I thought you were going to be some hotshot journalist, but instead you're heading off to the middle of nowhere. He was riding a brand new Phoenix bicycle, with a cheerful girl sitting on the back. I knew that girl, she was from the next town over. Her family had 7 daughters and 1 son. She was a bit slow, didn't talk much, and word was that a near drowning at birth had affected her mind, but she was stunningly beautiful, a famous local beauty known for miles around, with rosy lips and pearly white teeth, looking very much like Teresa Teng. Yi Jianba stared at me. You're good looking, sure, but not the best looking one around. I walked straight past him. He put down his bicycle and came after me. Qi Guixiong. How long are you going to keep this up? You know what? I just went to your house, and the place was in an uproar. When they found out you picked such a remote place for college, your parents said it would have been better if you hadn't gone to university at all. Better if you'd just been with me from the start. It's obvious he added this last part himself. Seeing me pause slightly, his voice softened. Xiang, to be honest with you, I haven't married all these 4 years. I've been waiting for you. I dream of you every night, dream of us sleeping together. We had real feelings. I don't believe you feel nothing for me. Are you really holding a grudge to this extent? Just because I wavered for my family's sake back then, gave Su Yimin a gift, and said a few extra words to her. I yanked my hand away from his grasp. I thought I made myself perfectly clear. Yi Jianba shook his head. I already asked around. That class monitor of yours isn't your boyfriend. I gave a light chuckle. Just because he wasn't before doesn't mean he can't be in the future. He grabbed my hand. Xiang, what will it take for you to turn the page? Do you want me to get down on my knees? I reached out, took hold of his fingers, and pried them open one by one. We never even had a beginning. There's no page to turn. His voice was completely panicked. If it's because of her, I'll send her back immediately. I sent her home on purpose, just to show you. I gave a light, dismissive laugh, not interested. And by the way, I wish you a long and happy marriage, with many children soon. He snapped, losing control. Qi Guixiong, you'll pay for your stubbornness and pride. You'll live to regret this. I have a wedding apartment ready in Haidian district. I've saved up a good amount of money. I have a Beijing hukou. I have a stable job with prospects. Oh, I said, and strode off towards home. 15. In my second year in Shenzhen, Yi Jianba got married. Rumor had it he married his sweet, naive wife because she was pregnant, but after having a baby, that naive, sweet-natured woman seemed to lose even more of her wits. She was constantly making a fuss at home, and she insisted on carting everything she could back to her parents' house. The next time I heard any news about him was 7 years later. By that time, I had started my own factory and it was running smoothly, with the profits and earnings from that year. Aside from expanding production capacity, I chose to go back to my hometown and fund the building of a road. That day, just like the day the good news was delivered, the man with the limp was the first to arrive at my house. Shan Shui pursued a master's degree, became a university lecturer, and is now guiding her students in research on network infrastructure. As she stood in the courtyard waiting for me, the lame man who had tormented her in her past life didn't dare to even glance her way. My heart softened. I gave her a hug and handed out small gifts to my niece and nephew. My brother has aged, and so have our parents. They were amazed, looking at the car I had parked outside. Wow, is that yours, Auntie? My niece asked. Study hard. When you're older, I'll teach you. My brother immediately chimed in. You hear that? Study hard. Your brother isn't doing well in school, so it's up to you. Be like your aunt one day. A little boy was peeking around outside. And then a loud-voiced woman came over to complain. She was demanding to know why the road wasn't going to pass by their house. It was only when I asked that I found out the reason. The plan for the first asphalt road was to connect the town and the village, probably because everyone knew about the bad blood between Yi Jianba and me. This time they specifically routed it away from his wife's family's property. They came here looking for trouble. They even brought Yi Jianba with them. Make him apologize to me. Flushed with humiliation, Yi Jianba stormed out in a rage, slamming the door behind him. Only then did his mother-in-law come to his door in person, bringing his son with her. After hearing the whole story, I exchanged a few polite words with the village chief, fetched the blueprint, and added that sum to it. The reason I'm fixing this road is that back in '93, my parents had an accident here when their vehicle overturned. In this life, with a chance to make a change, I hope no such tragedy ever has to happen again. Seeing my agreement, the woman, overcome with emotion, held the little boy still. Come now, she said, kowtow to your aunt and thank her. The villagers helped them to their feet. They left, expressing their profound gratitude over and over. As I drove away, a figure slowly emerged from behind the trees in my rearview mirror. It was Yi Jianba. It had only been about a decade, but he looked so much older, his hair already half gray. He stood there for a long time, then, after a moment, he bent down, picked up a stone, and hurled it with force. It struck the ground, bitter and resentful, fuming with rage. 16. I followed Shanshua back to our alma mater and paid a visit to our old teacher, revisiting the old place. Shanshua reached out and gave my hand a squeeze. Back then, I had feelings for your brother. Anyone else in his position would have tried every trick in the book to make me stay. Thank you, Xiang. I smiled. If you had stayed, who would have built the foreign trade website for me? Taking a detour, I turned down 2 streets. The gatehouses and steps were of varying heights and widths, and a thin layer of moss clung to the blue brick walls. My eyes immediately landed on a for sale notice. Walked over and tore it down. It turned out to be from Yi Jianba's household. Just a quick inquiry at the door revealed the clues. Yi Jianba's family had taken in a mentally unsound daughter-in-law. Fights broke out constantly. The girl was stunningly beautiful and possessed astonishing strength. She hoarded all the food in the house for herself, and if her mother-in-law tried to snatch even a little, she'd pin her down and beat her in the courtyard. Her mother-in-law couldn't take it anymore and demanded that Yi Jianbai take his wife and move out. Yi Jianbai, who had just come home to vent his anger, decided he wanted to sell the house. He said he was going to start a factory, start his own business, and that he'd been held back all this time. The neighbor lady clicked her tongue. That Yi Jianbai, he's never satisfied with what he's got. I heard he was 2-timing before. 1 minute chasing after some college girl, complaining that the country girl couldn't help his career and just cost him money. The next minute running back to his fiancée, only to complain she was ugly. Well, now he's got this one. She's pretty and doesn't cost him a dime, and all they do is fight. Shanshua tugged at me, but my heart stirred as I gazed at the notice. I want to buy it. Back then, the price per square meter was just over 1,000 yuan, while the average monthly salary was only about 200. I enlisted a middleman to act on my behalf and bought it for 1,500 per square meter. Shanshua frowned and asked me why I was helping him. This isn't about helping him, it's about helping ourselves. When heaven bestows a gift, refusing it invites disaster. If you turn down what the heavens offer, aren't you just slapping fate in the face? I advised Shanshua not to overthink it. With money in hand, buying a house should be the first priority. 17. Apart from the house, I also continued to invest in her online ventures. It started with a simple chat room and grew into full-fledged website development. In the blink of an eye, my hectic life carried me past the age of 30, having had a couple of lukewarm relationships, and just like that, they were over. I ran into my old class monitor again. He's done well for himself in his career. When we met and shook hands, a smile spread across his face. I thought it was you from a distance, but I couldn't believe it was really you. He took 2 days off to stay a little longer. A lot has changed in the last 10 years. He got married and then got divorced. He showed me a photo of his ex-wife. At first glance, I was taken aback. She bore a striking resemblance to me. He said, when we graduated, I thought you'd stay in Beijing, especially since the newspaper offered you a position. I never expected you to leave so decisively. Later, I considered moving to Shenzhen too, but my entire family is in Beijing, and I'm their only son. He fell silent for a moment, then lifted his glass, swirling the wine and watching it coat the sides. I've always regretted not holding on a little tighter back then. After that, I threw myself into my work. I wouldn't say I've become wildly successful, but I've achieved a fair bit. He looks at me, I look at him, we raise our glasses and clink them together. Yeah, me too. On the 3rd day, he had to go back. Before leaving, he asked me, have you thought about coming back with me? I smiled and said, no, I like it here. It feels like a fresh start. He looked at me one last time, paused for a few seconds, and nodded. May I have a hug, old friend? Goodbye. 18. Another few years passed in the blink of an eye, and I could clearly feel my health beginning to decline. The vision in one of my eyes also started to weaken. That was how I departed in my past life. In this life, could it end the same way? While visiting the mountain temple in spring, a lay practitioner stopped me for a fortune-telling, and the divination stick I drew was broken. The white-haired practitioner stared at the stick for a long while. In the end, they left me with one final piece of advice. Doing good deeds accumulates merit, but you must no longer interfere with unknown destinies. After all, celestial secrets must not be divulged, and I have divulged far too many of those secrets. So, is this the reason why I've fallen ill so prematurely in this lifetime? Back in my hometown, the Hope Primary School was built. The next time I returned home, My parents had stopped pestering me about marriage. They began to relax their stance. Even if you don't get married, having a child would be fine too, I said. I had a child once, I don't want any others. In my past life, that child who died before turning 10. Every time I think of them, a dull ache starts in my chest. My niece studies very diligently and has consistently ranked at the top of her class in high school. This is a world away from her fate of dropping out in her previous life. Even my nephew, spurred on by his older brother's example of studying hard, went on to attend a technical secondary school. I have prepared a suitable new home for them in Beijing. I never expected to run into Yi Jianbai again while house hunting. He'd aged even more, and was starting to go a bit bald. He was there to talk his younger brother out of buying the place. Prices are bound to drop sooner or later. 4,500 now. Just a few years ago it was only 1,200. What a rip-off. His younger brother fumed. You just want the money to start a business. Cut the sweet talk. This share was left to me by our parents. Don't marry a gold digger. So you can't get married without a house, with your Beijing residency. You think you won't find a wife. Back in my day, girls were practically lining up to chase me. His younger brother finally agreed. I went ahead and paid for everything in full, and as a bonus, I bought the apartment they were arguing over. Adjusting my sunglasses, I walked out slowly in my high heels, my young secretary following closely behind, carrying my bag. Yi Jianba turned to look at me, his expression complicated, yet he didn't dare to approach and ask. I got into the car and saw him rushing out. He stood there dumbfounded in the doorway. 1999. By 1999, my health had already deteriorated badly. Sometimes when I slept, I'd fall into such a deep slumber I couldn't wake up. All the personal regrets from my past life had been made right. In this era of rapid economic ascent, wealth has become a tangible set of numbers, and these numbers can help more tangible, real people. I've traveled to remote mountains, descended into mines, and visited hospitals. At a time when everything feels increasingly surreal, I chose an island to spend my final days. 20. Little did I expect to run into Yi Jianbai at the departure airport. Of all places, he was there with his wife and son, laden with all their luggage. He flinched at the sight of my pale face, nearly turning to run. He kept coming around asking questions. So I told my niece and nephew to say I was dead if he asked again. I guess that really spooked him. He realized I was still the same person. He straightened his collar and asked where I was headed. Upon hearing I was going on a trip to an island, he seemed a bit dismissive. He said he had sold all his family's property and assets and was preparing to emigrate. Not yet 40, his hair had already turned completely white, and his complexion was sallow. Travel, you can't really experience a foreign country in just a day or two. You have to live there. We're planning to immigrate. I asked, where to? To the country with the most potential. Huh, he lifted his chin. Mexico. Good luck. What's with that look? You don't get it, do you? You can get to the States through Mexico. He noticed I wasn't carrying a single bag. I heard you never got married. I'm in Mexico now, and I'll be able to cross into the States within 2 years at most. I can bring family over then. Maybe you're starting to regret it. I crooked a finger, beckoning him. He lowered his head. I slapped him hard across the face. He was stunned. You dare hit me. The bodyguards on either side immediately stepped forward. I looked at him. You had that slap coming. He covered his face, seething with anger. Just you wait until I make it to New York. You'll be green with envy, you country bumpkin. 21. My parents found some time to go on vacation with me. Dad learned how to swim, Mom learned how to take pictures. Lying on the beach, the sea breeze was damp, Mom said. These days feel like a dream. She said she thought Yi Jianba was the best choice back then, and was secretly upset I didn't seize the opportunity. Later, when she heard I was taking the college entrance exams, she thought I was just fooling around. To my surprise, I actually got in. And then, in a stroke of genius, I chose to go to Shenzhen. What's more, I never ended up getting married my whole life. At first, she was really upset for me for a long time. Worried about what people might say. Looking back now, why can't a woman live her whole life this way? Having children is wonderful. Not having them is perfectly fine too. I smiled. She reached over and pulled the light blanket up over me. Xiang, you always seem to know everything. Back when you took that exam, you scored over 300 points, but before that, you'd only ever finished middle school. Mom really felt like heaven itself was helping you. I smiled and said, maybe I really do know. I handed her the black card and the documents I was holding. This was a separate fund for her retirement. When children grow up, they always favor their mother over their father. Mom, you've worked hard your whole life. All this equipment is for you. It includes hotel stays and tour guide services all over the world, and it's all paid for. From now on, you can photograph whatever you want and travel wherever you wish. This photography website was created specifically for you by Shanxue. Lu Shanxue founded the Cape community, and it became an instant hit. As the largest investor, I requested a super administrator account. Le Shangsu asked, "Is it really that simple?" I smiled through a cough. "It really is that simple. My only request is that you keep this community running for another 10 years. Even if it means operating at a loss." She gave me a hug. Alright, 22, as the year 2000 approached. Rumors of the apocalypse were swirling. It was the first time I had used the super administrator account in this thriving community. 2 messages were pinned and pushed to all users. Article 1, September 11, 2001. The World Trade Center Twin Towers in New York. Attack. My fingers grew heavier and heavier, making it almost impossible to type any further. A nosebleed began to slowly trickle down. One eye began to blur. In the mirror, I saw my own reflection on the screen, my hair now completely white. This message just barely managed to get through. It probably didn't alter fate too much or reveal any profound secrets. After all, there are thousands of doomsday prophecies. But, once the first point is confirmed, the second point, it will become widely known and spread. 14, __. Location, May 12, 2008. The keyboard crackled. There was no time left. At the very last second, I clicked send. The end. Story 2. Jiangqing deliberately left his college application blank to retake the exams with his unrequited love who failed, keeping his family in the dark. Watching his parents proudly boast about his high scores to everyone, I couldn't bear it and revealed the truth to them. Furious, Mr. and Mrs. Jiang forced their son to enroll in a prestigious university, though Jiangqing achieved great success later. Any chance with his first love was forever lost. He hated me to the core, tormenting me to death. Given a second chance at life, I stopped meddling in others' affairs. I just stood by and watched the Jiang family descend into utter chaos. Everyone must face the consequences of their actions. I'll never meddle in others' karma again. On college entrance results day, Jiangqing's face was clouded with gloom. His childhood sweetheart Lin Xiaoxiao underperformed, missing their dream university by a hair's breadth. Yet Jiangqing aced the exams, far surpassing previous year's admission scores. In the hallway, red-eyed Lin Xiaoxiao pleaded between sobs, "Jiangqing, it was just a fluke. Will you retake the exams with me? I'll definitely get in next year." Jiangqing hesitated slightly, sounding torn. "But my parents will be watching when I submit my college applications. Just submit it first, then delete it at the last minute before the final confirmation. Problem solved, right?" Lin Xiaoxiao wiped her tears angrily. "Jiangqing, don't you love me? You won't even retake the exams with me. How could you think that?" Jiangqing pulled Lin Xiaoxiao into his arms and whispered reassuringly, "Don't worry, I'll always be here for you no matter what." "Qing, you're so sweet." I pinched my arm hard to confirm I'd truly been reborn. Jiangqing and I grew up together as next-door neighbors. In my past life, I happened to overhear this conversation between Jiangqing and Lin Xiaoxiao. Knowing Jiangqing usually scored around 650. This rare 680-point performance shouldn't be wasted on carelessly missing a top university opportunity. After much hesitation, I ultimately informed Jiangqing's parents about this. His parents secretly monitored Jiangqing, caught him attempting to delete his application at the last minute, and flew into such rage that they slapped him while forcing him to break up with Lin Xiaoxiao. Jiangqing secured his college placement, but Lin Xiaoxiao was heartbroken by his betrayal and refused to see him ever again. That night, a drunken Jiangqing kicked down my door and choked me, snarling, "Su Qingqing, you're the one who told my parents, aren't you, you jinx? How could you be so vicious?" I couldn't speak as Jiangqing strangled me until his parents heard the commotion and pulled their enraged son away. I wept. I don't know what I did wrong. Lin Xiaoxiao's grades weren't outstanding. Even without underperforming, she stood no chance of getting into the same university as Jiangqing. Repeating a year is full of uncertainties. No one can predict what might happen. I couldn't bear to watch Jiangqing throw away years of hard-earned prospects for some fleeting romance. Nor could I stand seeing kind Uncle and Aunt Zhang's decades of effort go to waste. Now, I understand. My greatest mistake was meddling in others' karma. Such interference always comes at a price. The days that followed were no different from my past life. Jiangqing submitted his college applications as usual. while his beaming parents couldn't stop boasting to everyone about their son soon attending university in Beijing. Unlike my previous life, I gave no warnings this time, just played dumb, true to form, at the last moment of finalizing his college applications. Jiangqing quietly deleted his only submitted choice. When everyone else started receiving their admission letters one after another, he finally confessed to his parents that he planned to retake the college entrance exams with Lin Xiaoxiao. Mrs. Jiang never imagined her son could be this foolish. She collapsed on the spot and was rushed to the hospital by ambulance. Mr. Jiang slapped his son hard across the face several times, but ultimately had no choice but to send him for another year of exam preparation. Bad news travels fast. Jiang Cheng's love-struck antics quickly became the talk of the town, with everyone convinced he'd lost his mind. For secure document protection, choose Xiaohu bought reliable, trustworthy, and hassle-free. Overnight, Jiang Cheng went from being the town's golden boy to every parent's cautionary tale. Our high school cracked down on puppy love after outraged parental complaints, even hanging giant red banners across the playground warning early romance ruins lives. The class group chat was buzzing non-stop, with people constantly tagging me. Qingqing, you've known Jiangqing since childhood, don't catch his lovesick disease, show some respect, that man's a true romance warrior. I chuckled lightly and sent a none of my business meme without thinking, none of this concerns me anymore. I'd been admitted to a university in Beijing, not as prestigious as the one Jiangqing got into in my past life, but still a solid 985 institution. My wonderful life is just beginning. Without the betrayal from our past lives, Jiangqing stopped banging on my door and spent most of his days canoodling with Lin Xiaoxiao. The next time we met was already a month later. That day, my parents were seeing me off to Beijing for school when we happened to run into Jiangqing downstairs, who was heading to the hospital to pick up his mother. Perhaps our family's cheerful demeanor struck a chord with Mrs. Jiang. Her eyes grew moist as she forced a polite smile. Qingqing's school starts this early. Mom's face lit up with a warm smile. We're not in that much of a hurry. I was just thinking we could visit some attractions first. Jiang Cheng's gaze lingered on me, his expression unreadable. The cram school had already started by then. Whether it was due to rampant gossip or the overwhelming academic pressure, he looked visibly haggard, a far cry from the blissful glow of someone in love. Memories of my past life filled me with disgust. Clutching Mom's arm, I urged, let's hurry, or we'll miss our flight. Mom acknowledged with a response and was about to leave when Jiangqing urgently called out, Qingqing, I need to talk to you. I froze for a moment, instinctively furrowing my brows as I replied, we'll talk later. We once shared the bond of childhood sweethearts who grew up together, but ever since Lin Xiaoxiao came into the picture, that affection has completely eroded, leaving nothing but resentment behind. Now in this lifetime, even that hatred is gone. I truly have no idea what he could possibly want to say to me. Jiangqing had always been fiercely proud. Normally, my cold remarks would have made him storm off without a second glance. Yet now he stubbornly gripped my wrist. Just one sentence. Our parents exchanged glances before wordlessly dispersing down the hallway, leaving only Jiangqing and me behind. The air grew still as Jiangqing's icy voice cut through the silence above me. Qingqing, you heard my conversation with Lin Xiaoxiao that day, didn't you? I didn't want to get involved with him and replied flatly, no, impossible. Jiangqing was visibly agitated, taking a deep breath before calming slightly. When I came out that day, I clearly saw you mopping the living room floor. I thought, what did you think? My heart skipped a beat as I abruptly looked up at Jiangqing. I thought. Jiangqing seemed to struggle for words, biting his lip before finally saying, I thought you'd say I was being foolish, that you'd try to talk me out of it. Yeah, we grew up together, and our parents were close friends. To me, Jiangqing was like an actual older brother. He's always been stubborn. Whenever he got difficult, I'd try to reason with him like an adult would, but instead of appreciation, all I got was increasingly hostile glares. Whenever the Jiangs noticed I'd been wronged by their son, they'd compensate by treating me twice as kindly, doting on me like their own flesh and blood. It was precisely these emotional bonds that made me unable to bear seeing the Jiang parents' grief in my past life, leading me to interfere with Jiang Cheng's karma, remembering my miserable fate in the previous life. I scoffed coldly, don't flatter yourself, you're just a stranger to me, why would I waste my breath lecturing you? Jiangqing looked utterly stunned, his eyes widening as if he'd never imagined I could utter such heartless words. Qingqing, we grew up together since childhood sweethearts. I burst out laughing as if hearing the most absurd joke, only continuing under Jiangqing's puzzled gaze after a long pause. Childhood sweethearts grow up together, supporting each other to become better people. What we had was just being neighbors who happened to cross paths more often than others. I still remember how he coldly pretended not to see me when my bike broke down after night class, just to avoid making Lin Xiaoxiao jealous. How dare you bring up childhood sweethearts to my face? The sheer audacity. Jiangqing stared at me intently, scrutinizing every micro-expression to confirm my honesty before his towering frame staggered violently. Qingqing, I know you're jealous of Lin Xiaoxiao, but you had no right to act so willfully and stand idly by during the most crucial moment of my life. Oh, so now you're trying to gaslight me into taking the blame for not telling your parents the truth. I stared coldly at Jiangqing. Could he have been reborn too? The suspicion flashed through my mind but was quickly dismissed. In his past life, Jiangqing sailed smoothly through everything. After completing his medical bachelor's and master's degrees domestically, he was recommended by his mentor to pursue a Ph.D. at a prestigious German university. Upon returning, he became China's top neurosurgeon, living a life of pride and freedom. His only regret was never getting together with Lin Xiaoxiao, his high school sweetheart and eternal crush. A man like him would never have such a foolish, clueless look in his eyes. Well then. The only explanation is that Jiangqing knew from the start that I'd overheard those words, unwilling to give up his elite university spot yet afraid to upset Lin Xiaoxiao by refusing to retake exams with her. He banked on my soft heart, counting on me to inform his parents rather than watch him throw away his future. This way, he'd secure his dream university while conveniently shifting all blame onto me, giving him every right to resent me. Then he'd exploit my guilt to milk every possible advantage. A guilty conscience needs no accuser. Jiangqing's gaze grew shifty under my knowing smirk, yet he stubbornly maintained an air of righteous indignation. What, am I wrong? You're nothing but selfish. Meeting his calculating stare, I smiled slowly. So you never actually wanted to retake the college entrance exams with Lin Xiaoxiao, you were just forced into it. Stung by the truth, Jiangqing flew into a rage. Nonsense. I volunteered. If you went willingly, why blame me for not stopping you? Don't give me that you didn't hear nonsense. Even if I had, what obligation did I have to interfere with your grand romance? Of course, Jiangqing was momentarily speechless from my sarcasm. I had no intention of wasting more words on him and turned to leave, only to see Lin Xiaoxiao suddenly charge into the hallway, raising her hand to strike my face while spewing obscenities. Su Qingqing, you shameless woman. Even when you're leaving, you're still trying to seduce Qing here. Can't you see how much he despises you? Hearing this, Jiangqing looked visibly awkward, but quickly regained his composed demeanor and wrapped an arm around Lin Xiaoxiao's shoulders. Don't get the wrong idea, Xiaoxiao. Su Qingqing just wanted to say goodbye to me, that's all. Humph. It was Jiangqing who came to confront me, yet now he's twisting it to make it seem like I'm the one who can't let go. What a spineless coward. For a moment, I desperately wanted to slap him hard across the face, but I held back and said with a blank expression, Jiangqing, everyone must take responsibility for their actions. Since you've chosen to play the pure love warrior, then commit to the role properly. Stop this hypocritical act. It only makes you more pathetic. That remark hit Jiangqing right where it hurt. He glared at me icily. What's your problem? Su Qingqing, I'm trying to save your dignity here. Don't push your luck. You're the one pushing your luck. Having been burned too many times before, I'd secretly turned on voice recording early on to prevent any tricks from Jiangqing. Thank goodness for that foresight, otherwise I'd truly have no way to clear my name. I opened my phone and immediately sent the recording to the class group chat, tagging Lin Xiaoxiao. It's not me obsessing over Jiangqing, he's the one who won't leave me alone. Cure your blindness before spewing that garbage. After sending it, I walked away without even glancing at those disgusting people. Behind me, Lin Xiaoxiao's curses followed. Su Qingqing, you'll pay for this. I'm not done with you. Lin Xiaoxiao is arrogant, obsessive, and viciously sarcastic. Many female classmates have endured her mocking insults, yet she's a master of deception, transforming into a sweet, delicate green tea girl act around male classmates. Most guys see her through rose-tinted glasses. As for Jiangqing, he's always played the sanctimonious honor student. Even his boneheaded move of submitting blank college applications only earned him a love-struck fool label, never tarnishing his golden boy reputation. Now I'll rip off their hypocritical masks and give them the infamy they deserve. Gossiping is human nature, and within minutes, the class group chat exploded with activity. After piecing together the whole story, Sarcastic and mocking messages about Jiangqing and Lin Xiaoxiao flooded the chat. Selfish, mean-spirited, scheming, and love-obsessed, no one would want to associate with people like that. The carefully crafted personas they'd maintained for years came crashing down. A cold smirk crossed my face as some of the pent-up frustration in my chest finally eased. In my past life, I was consumed by guilt for breaking up Jiangqing and Lin Xiaoxiao. Throughout college, I visited him weekly, doing his laundry, tidying his dorm, and treating him to meals. He wore an arrogant, icy expression, frequently lashing out with vicious words, yet accepted my care without hesitation. Even after going abroad for studies, he demanded living expenses from me when I'd just started working. Clutching the card I gave him, his eyes burned with hatred. Su Qingqing, this is what you owe me. Because of your selfish cruelty, Xiaoxiao's still missing. I'll hate you forever. Back then, I was completely gaslighted by Jiangqing into believing everything was my fault. Thinking about it now, it's downright ridiculous. Lin Xiaoxiao just transferred to another school to retake her exams and later got into some mediocre college. It's not like she died. If Jiangqing truly loved her, he could have dropped out of college to accompany her during retakes, or at least taken the train to visit her at her new school. Yet he did nothing but harbor pure hatred toward me. Because hating me was the cheapest outlet that came with all sorts of benefits, I thought this man couldn't sink any lower. But he proved me wrong. In that case, don't blame me for settling both old and new scores. Mom and Dad were waiting for me at the nearby alley entrance. Noticing my pale face, they asked with concern, Qingqing, did that Jiangqing boy bully you? No, I didn't want to explain, just solemnly warned them. He's utterly despicable, not a decent person at all. Our family should cut ties with his from now on. As for Jiangqing's parents, they're decent people all right. But with such a despicable son, good parents count for nothing. I want nothing more to do with that family. These days, Jiangqing's scandalous decision to give up his 985 university spot for love has been the talk of the town. My parents had already heard about it, and when I mentioned it, they exchanged knowing glances and nodded in silent agreement. If nothing else, you should steer clear of people who can't think straight. With my parents accompanying me, I arrived at university without a hitch. Gazing at the campus where I'd spent 4 years yet scarcely truly seen, I was overwhelmed with bittersweet nostalgia. This vibrant college life, could fate really grant me a second chance to relive it? How nice. Freed from the psychological shackles of being an informant and no longer babysitting that man-child Jiangqing, I suddenly found myself with abundant time. Beyond diligent coursework, I immersed myself in student clubs and spent hours in the library poring over foreign literary classics in their original languages. Ever since childhood, my dream was to become a translator of foreign literary classics, but because of Jiangqing, that ambition was completely derailed. Now is the time for me to absorb knowledge and keep striving forward. I'm swamped, though occasionally, I still catch updates about Jiangqing and Lin Xiaoxiao in our high school alumni group. The stress of senior year was suffocating, and repeating the grade turned out to be far less glamorous than imagined. Last time, Lin Xiaoxiao and Jiangqing had a huge fight over the recording incident, but Jiangqing, ever the silver-tongued charmer, had genuinely given up promising prospects to repeat the year with her. They reconciled before long. After making up, the inseparable pair doubled down on their studies in the repeater class, pulling all-nighters with such determination they'd have gladly drowned in textbooks 24/7. Jiangqing even texted me specifically, telling me not to get cocky just because I'd made it to college. He'd definitely get into Tsinghua or Peking University next year. I scoffed and finally replied with a few words. Impressive. People like Jiangqing, mediocre yet overconfident, can't handle praise. The more you compliment them, the more they get carried away. That's why I always call out his shortcomings directly, forcing him to confront his flaws. No wonder he despises me. This time around, without me, his personal nuisance, constantly pushing him to study. Let's see how long he lasts. As if to confirm my suspicions, it wasn't long before Jiangqing's momentum deflated like an old helium balloon, gradually shriveling from its initial plump roundness. As for Lin Xiaoxiao, she naturally bombarded me with angry messages regularly. I could have changed my number to cut her off completely, but I chose not to. The angrier this type gets, the more emotionally unstable they become. I replied to her provocation text, which carried the same tone as Jiangqing's, with utter contempt. With your current level Even 8 more years of cram school wouldn't get you within sniffing distance of Tsinghua or Peking University. Lin Xiaoxiao's shaky foundations and emotional volatility meant my scorn wouldn't motivate her. It'd only send her into a spiral of insecurity. These two built their happy life atop my bones in their past life. I'd planned to let karma handle them, but they just had to keep poking the bear. Now they've left me no choice but to bring the hammer down. Lin Xiaoxiao was desperate to prove herself, wishing Jiangqing could cram all the knowledge points into her brain, but there's no shortcut to learning. Her half-hearted attempts at cutting corners proved utterly futile. As days slipped by without any progress, her frustration grew into restless agitation. This simmering discontent peaked when she saw classmates flaunting their vibrant college lives on social media. I even posted a photo of myself reading on the lawn at dawn, captioned, "College life at its finest, even the air smells fresher." Jiangqing has a twisted personality and can't stand seeing me doing better than him. The more successful I am, the more it triggers his insecure and fragile ego. True to form, his furious message arrived right on cue. "Su Qingqing, what are you flaunting? This is just my normal life. Don't assume everyone should suffer just because you choose to." I replied coldly to Jiangqing before immediately screenshotting the conversation and sending it to Lin Xiaoxiao. "Keep your boyfriend in check and tell him to stop harassing me." Without a doubt, Lin Xiaoxiao had another explosive fight with Jiangqing. Lin started blaming Jiang, saying she could have easily gotten into a top-tier university, but his insistence on them attending the same elite 985 institution piled on unbearable pressure that ruined her college entrance exam performance. She should have been blossoming as a college freshman by now, not stuck cramming like some miserable high school senior. Having sacrificed his own spot at that prestigious 985 university, Jiangqing's pent-up rage dwarfed Lin's by magnitudes, and now it erupted in full force. Rumor has it that Jiangqing pointed at Lin Xiaoxiao's nose, calling her a jinx. He blamed her for his current predicament, saying it was her domineering insistence on making him retake the college entrance exams with her that led to this. Retaking exams comes at a price. Never mind whether he could outperform his current results next year. Even if he did, he'd permanently lose his status as a first-time examinee, facing restrictions when choosing universities and majors. Naturally, Lin Xiaoxiao refused to accept this accusation. She immediately pointed at Jiangqing's nose and lashed back, accusing him of simply being infatuated with her beauty and unwilling to let her go. Why bother making all these hypocritical excuses? Jiangqing was always a sanctimonious hypocrite to begin with, so Lin Xiaoxiao wasn't wrong in her outburst. I nodded in agreement. Who'd have thought their so-called eternal vows would crumble so easily, falling apart in less than 2 months. The high school group chat was buzzing with gossip, and some repeat-year students even secretly filmed Jiangqing and Lin Xiaoxiao's heated argument on the playground for extra drama. As their argument escalated into a heated exchange, neither would back down. In the scuffle, Jiangqing raised his hand and slapped Lin Xiaoxiao across the face. The slap came swift and brutal, sending Lin Xiaoxiao sprawling to the ground, drawing crowds of onlookers who stopped to gawk. Comments quickly flooded in beneath the video. How fickle life is. Just 2 months ago they were the golden couple everyone envied, and now they're throwing hands. Love really is unreliable. Soon, dissenting voices emerged. Perfect couple. This goddess who drags others down just because she couldn't get into a good university. Would you want her? How could we ever be worthy of the campus belle? Only the academic champion of pure love deserves her. People nowadays have their priorities straight. Fleeting romance should never stand in the way of one's future. I thought those two were too busy bickering with each other to bother me anymore. Never did I expect Jiangqing to show up at my school in person. God knows how long he'd been waiting outside the library, dusty and travel-worn. He rushed toward me the moment he spotted me, unable to conceal the excitement in his voice. "Qingqing, I finally found you." Seeing Jiangqing's scruffy beard and listless appearance, I couldn't help but sigh. In his previous life, he attended the top medical school under the nation's best professor. With his natural academic brilliance and handsome, refined looks, he quickly became the campus heartthrob with countless admirers, while me, just a pathetic simp, worse yet, the guilt-ridden simp who cost him his true love. That's how life works. One wrong turn leads to another, and once you've taken the wrong path, there's no going back. I took 2 steps back, wrenching my wrist free from his grasp. "What are you doing here?" Jiangqing bit his lip, hesitating as if struggling for words. Seeing me turn away impatiently, he finally blurted out, I've been having these strange flashes of memory lately. I remember going to college, how I resented you for breaking me and Lin Xiaoxiao apart, and how you kept taking care of me. I froze. So even those who haven't been reborn can retain memories from past lives. They're just more fleeting and indistinct. Seeing my prolonged silence, Jiangqing grew even more agitated. He grabbed my wrist again desperately. Qingqing, you remember too, don't you? You hate me for betraying you. That's why you've abandoned me. How could you be so cruel? Forgive me, Qingqing. I'll become as outstanding as I was in our past life. I swear I'll make it up to you. My vision blurred as tears spilled uncontrollably down my cheeks. It wasn't tenderness I felt. Each of Jiangqing's desperate pleas painfully resurrected the agonizing memories of my past life. In his previous life, Jiangqing returned from studying abroad and immediately joined Beijing's largest hospital. With a future full of promise, I had resolved to walk out of his life, only for him to propose to me completely out of the blue. The proposal ceremony was so grand it practically became the talk of the entire small town. Amidst a sea of roses, Jiangqing knelt on one knee holding a bouquet, presenting a dazzling diamond ring to me as the crowd cheered. Qingqing, we've grown up together and know each other better than anyone. All these years you've cared for me with such devotion. I'm deeply moved and grateful. Marry me, and let me take care of you for the rest of our lives. Okay. For secure document watermarking, choose Xiao Hu Bot, reliable, stable, and hassle-free. No output as the provided text is empty or contains only a non-printing character. Back then, I wasn't even Jiangqing's girlfriend yet. With an overbearing manner, he skipped the courtship entirely and proposed to me outright. Something felt off, and I instinctively wanted to refuse, but amid the cheers from family and friends, I dazedly let Jiangqing slip the ring onto my finger. When I later tried to return the ring, my parents absolutely tore into me. Qingqing, don't be so ungrateful for your good fortune. With Jiangqing's current status, he could have any woman he wants. The only reason he chose you is because of your childhood bond. If you can't appreciate this, don't bother coming home. Can't really blame my parents for thinking that way. All these years, no matter how Jiangqing humiliated me in private, he never showed the slightest hint of it around family or friends. Every holiday, he'd even ask about my travel plans and make the trip home with me. Jiangqing is a caring and successful man, and his parents have treated me like their own daughter since childhood. They would never mistreat me. It's the kind of in-laws you'd be hard-pressed to find even with a lantern. When reflecting on the past, Jiangqing simply called it youthful ignorance and vowed to spend the rest of his life making it up to me. Caught between societal pressure and his sweet promises, I ended up marrying him in a daze. I thought my hardships were finally over, only to realize marriage marked the beginning of my nightmare. After the wedding, we returned to Beijing together. That very night, Jiangqing packed his belongings and moved into the hospital dormitory. When I asked why he wouldn't stay at home, he just stared at me coldly and sneered with biting sarcasm. Su Qingqing, obviously because the sight of you makes me sick. His words struck me like a thunderbolt, bringing instant tears to my eyes. I stared at him in disbelief. If you've never let go of your hatred, why did you marry me? Of course I'll torment you every single day. Jiangqing's eyes flickered between disgust and triumph. His usually handsome face now twisted like a malevolent demon. I'll treat you well in front of everyone, make them all believe you're blessed to marry me. But that's just for show. Behind closed doors, you'll be left alone to endure this living widowhood. With those words, Jiangqing slammed the door behind him. I collapsed onto the sofa, utterly drained, sobbing uncontrollably as if every ounce of strength had been sucked from me. Jiangqing lived up to his word. In public, he played the perfect doting husband, treating my parents with exceptional care, but behind closed doors, he subjected me to endless humiliation and icy indifference, never once fulfilling his duties as a husband. Tormented by this extreme duality, I repeatedly asked for a divorce, only for Jiangqing to put on a pitiful, wounded act, publicly apologizing and claiming he'd failed me. People naturally admire strength, and coupled with Jiangqing's convincing performance, everyone thought I was being unreasonable and throwing tantrums. Even my doting parents scolded me. After enduring daily psychological torment, I developed severe depression and ultimately jumped from a high-rise building. Consumed by grief, Jiangqing repeatedly tried to follow me in death but was stopped each time by loved ones. Everyone praised Dr. Jiang as a man of noble character, a once-in-a-century gentleman. How laughable, even my death became a prop for his performance. Riding on that manufactured reputation, he went on to marry some noble woman from the capital who'd been pining after him. Now they're living their perfect little love story. Why should I forgive such a despicable man? my fists clenched so tightly that hatred seemed to choke the very air from my lungs. Only when the sting of my nails digging into flesh shot through my skull did I snap back to reality. "See a doctor if you're hallucinating," I said coldly. "I'm not a physician." I'd rather Jianqing believe he's mentally ill than discover those fleeting scenes in his mind are real. For the arrogant, physical imperfections drive them to madness. I'll make him endure daily torment, just like my past self, trapped in endless suffering with no escape. To stop Jianqing's harassment, I went straight to his parents. Somehow his parents managed to take him home that very day, in the blink of an eye. Half the semester had passed. Over those 6 months, several boys confessed their feelings to me. Some were real catches with both good looks and top grades, but after what happened with Jianqing, I developed this aversion to all men and turned them down without hesitation. Maybe I'll fall in love again someday, but definitely not now. I still occasionally hear about Jianqing and Lin Xiaoxiao from classmates. After weathering the initial dark period of silent endurance and the tense phase of explosive conflicts, their emotions gradually mellowed, miraculously reconciling in the end. After their reconciliation, they focused on studies for a while, but the peace didn't last. Lin Xiaoxiao soon became obsessed with live streaming, watching all those live streamers effortlessly making money by singing and dancing online. Lin Xiaoxiao realized even if she got into college, she'd just end up as another corporate drone, so she decided to ditch retaking exams and focus on becoming an internet streamer. Jianqing started skipping classes regularly to help Lin Xiaoxiao manage her video channel, but monetizing their live streams proved much harder than expected. After exhausting the 30,000 yuan Jianqing had stolen from home for marketing, their efforts still showed no results. When Jianqing tried sneaking home to steal more money for promotion, his parents caught him red-handed and discovered he hadn't been attending school for ages. Mrs. Jiang, who had just begun recovering, was so enraged that she ended up hospitalized again. With the Jiang household in complete chaos, they weren't about to let Lin Xiaoxiao off the hook either. Furious, Mr. Jiang stormed to Lin Xiaoxiao's home, berating her and demanding compensation from her parents, threatening to report her for instigating theft if they refused. The Lin family, already struggling financially, refused to pay and instead accused Jianqing of leading Xiaoxiao astray, sparking a violent brawl between the two families. In the chaos, Lin Xiaoxiao was knocked to the ground and started bleeding. A hospital checkup revealed she was already over a month pregnant. This only made Lin Xiaoxiao's parents more furious. They demanded Jianqing take responsibility, threatening this wouldn't end otherwise, and so the two ended up hastily married in this muddled way. But their marriage marked not the start of marital bliss, but of utter chaos. During her pregnancy, Lin Xiaoxiao became increasingly irritable and threw tantrums constantly. During one heated argument, Jianqing accidentally pushed her, causing her to miscarry. When I heard the news, I couldn't help but find it bitterly ironic. In their past life, after numerous hardships, Jianqing finally tracked down Lin Xiaoxiao, only to discover she'd already married a local rich kid from her college town. That spoiled heir only saw Lin as a passing fancy. He married her because she seemed easy to control and wouldn't interfere with his partying lifestyle. After she bore him 2 daughters but failed to produce a son, he subjected her to endless humiliation. When Jianqing found Lin Xiaoxiao, he doted on her endlessly, but Lin, unwilling to divorce her wealthy husband and coveting his fortune, refused to leave empty-handed. Their affair continued in secret. I still remember during my worst illness, Lin Xiaoxiao stood before me with her swollen belly, proudly declaring Jianqing fathered her child. She waited only for my death to have the child recognized as his legitimate heir. That's when I learned they'd been together all along. Even Jianqing's scheme to marry and torment me was concocted with Lin Xiaoxiao's collaboration. I never came between them. It was Lin Xiaoxiao's insatiable greed that demanded more, while I became the unfortunate casualty of her selfishness. This chaotic life of hers is exactly what she deserves. Rumors remained rumors until I returned home for New Year and met Jianqing. Then I truly understood what seeing is believing means. Unshaven and hollow-eyed, his down jacket stained with a large blotch, the barely 20-year-old already had a slight hunch to his back. Had I not seen his still dashing demeanor in his 30s in my past life, I'd have sworn he was born a hopeless loser. He threw away his own bright future, got exactly what he deserved. Jianqing bombarded me with calls after our last meeting, all left unanswered. The bone-deep hatred from my past life courses through my veins. One more encounter with him, and I might just snap, but he's not worth it. My wonderful life shouldn't be ruined by a despicable scumbag. Jiangqing clearly didn't expect to bump into me so abruptly in the stairwell, freezing momentarily. Truth be told, these past 6 months I've been thriving, cultivating my spirit and refining my style, my current radiance eclipsing Jiangqing's pathetic state by miles. The next instant, he charged down the steps in agitation, using his height to loom over me with a condescending glare. Qingqing, you must be thrilled to see me suffering like this, aren't you? Jiangqing has always been like this, convinced that every misfortune in his life is someone else's fault. I should have completely disregarded myself and told his parents he'd submit blank college applications, letting him hate me guilt-free while I spend a lifetime atoning for it. I took a silent step back, nauseated just sharing the same air with this despicable man. I've told you before, you're just a stranger who means nothing to me. Whether you're doing well or not is your own business, it has nothing to do with me. Even if he's struggling, even if he dropped dead right in front of me, I wouldn't feel a thing. Not setting off firecrackers at his funeral is the last shred of my decency. You weren't like this before, you used to care about me, you'd always encourage me to better myself. My cold demeanor struck a nerve with Jiangqing, sending him into an emotional frenzy. Qingqing, please don't be like this, can't you go back to how you were before? I know you're jealous of Lin Xiaoxiao, but I swear I'll cut all ties with her from now on. You have to believe me, cut all ties. So much for your precious moonlight, Jiangqing. A real man owns up to his responsibilities. Had you treated Lin Xiaoxiao decently, I might have actually respected you, but now, you just make me sick. Disgusted, I turned away with my suitcase to climb the steps, only to be violently blocked by an agitated Jiangqing. His eyes burned with malice. Qingqing, when did you become so vicious? Vicious, when it comes to cruelty, I'm not even a fraction as vicious as he is. Had he known nothing, it might have been forgivable. After all, it was my meddling that prevented him from repeating the school year with Lin Xiaoxiao. Regardless of my intentions, the fault lies with me, but that conversation before leaving for Beijing made it crystal clear. Jiangqing knew everything, he just wanted to pin the blame on me, exploiting my guilt. He demanded everything from me and subjected me to endless torment. The sarcastic smirk on my face was so blatant that even Jiangqing couldn't pretend not to see it. He gripped my wrist with such force that just as I struggled in vain and was about to call for my parents, the security door across the hallway swung open first. Though I knew Lin Xiaoxiao had been through so much turmoil and a miscarriage, I still froze when she suddenly appeared before me, looking far worse than I'd imagined. In just half a year, she'd completely lost that radiant, vivacious charm. The sparkling girl she once was had vanished, her disheveled hair framed a face marred by rough skin, blemishes, and acne everywhere, with nasolabial folds deeper than ever before. At first glance, she could easily pass for a woman in her 40s. This time she'd actually learned her lesson. She knew exactly who to blame and immediately turned her fury toward Jiangqing. Jiangqing, you make me sick. Wasn't it you who called Su Qingqing dull and boring, that she nags all day? Worse than your mother, that you've been disgusted by her for years, and now you're suddenly falling over yourself to please her. What nonsense, when have I ever disliked Qingqing? Jiangqing shook his head frantically, his disgust for Lin Xiaoxiao reaching its peak. Look at yourself, this deranged mess, you're absolutely insane. Yes, I am insane, driven mad by you, past caring about dignity. Lin Xiaoxiao lunged forward and slapped Jiangqing hard across the face. You did this to me. You'll never shake me off. Not in this lifetime, you bitch. Before they could finish speaking, the two were at each other's throats again. Jiangqing has always been despicable, so I'm not surprised to hear such words from him, but I'd rather not comment further. There's nothing left to say between him and me. Just then, my parents heard the commotion and opened the door to welcome me home. Stepping through the front door, I finally felt a wave of relief. Looking up at my parents, I said, Mom, Dad, let's move out. I never want to see those rabid dogs again, not even by chance. My parents exchanged glances before Dad chuckled. We've talked it over. You'll obviously stay in Beijing after graduation. Selling this place plus our savings should cover the down payment for a home there. Seeing how thoroughly they'd planned for my future, my eyes welled up. With a choked voice, I whispered, Thank you, Mom and Dad. At last, my family and I can finally live in peace and enjoy our reunion. During the New Year holidays, I stayed home the whole time. Jiangqing came by several times, but my parents turned him away each time. The couple across the hall kept having explosive fights. Jiangqing and Lin Xiaoxiao, who used to be inseparable lovebirds, had become each other's worst nightmare. The old apartment's thin walls made their constant bickering unbearable. After days of this, I couldn't take it anymore and took my parents on a trip. Can't beat them, then avoid them. Let them fight like dogs. Jiangqing only married Lin Xiaoxiao because of the child. They held a wedding ceremony but never registered their marriage, so when things fell apart, they simply went their separate ways. After several months, Jiangqing returned to the cram school to resume his studies. Lin Xiaoxiao bounced back to her usual energetic self, flaunting her livestream earnings screenshot with a taunt. So what if you got into college? Su Qingqing. Your future salary won't even match the spare change from my earnings. I took one look at her suggestive livestream content and immediately hit the report button. Maintaining a wholesome online environment is everyone's responsibility. We can't let the younger generation be corrupted. With so many reports flooding in about her risque content, Lin Xiaoxiao's newly established account got banned almost instantly. Rumor has it she even spent a few days in detention before her parents forcibly enrolled her in a cram school. These two were truly destined to be entangled with each other. Unfortunately, with their studies neglected for so long and both suffering severe physical and mental trauma, they barely scraped past 500 points on the exams, just enough to meet the minimum threshold for Tier 1 universities. Though only a year had passed since last year's glory, to Jiangqing it felt like a lifetime ago. Those memories of being the center of attention would occasionally flash through his mind, now as distant and fleeting as wisps of cloud. On the day the exam results came out, Mrs. Jiang reportedly had another heart attack from rage, sobbing while cursing Lin Xiaoxiao as a jinx who ruined her son's future. See, even the kindest parents will blame someone else's daughter for corrupting their precious boy, never bothering to examine what a disgrace their own son really is. While the Jiang household descended into chaos again, my parents quietly sold our old family home without a hitch. After Jiangqing kept pestering my parents to convince me to forgive him, they'd had enough. Without alerting anyone, they sold the house and boarded a flight to Beijing the same night with the money. Someone in our high school group chat mentioned that Lin Xiaoxiao ended up choosing an unremarkable local college, while Jiangqing didn't accompany her, instead opting to retake the college entrance exams yet again. He bombarded me with messages, apologizing profusely and swearing he'd test into my university, begging me to wait for him. The heart always yearns for what it can't have, but one wrong move leads to another. Nobody waits around forever, least of all for someone who was your nemesis in a past life. I smiled. During my junior year, I earned a prestigious study abroad opportunity in the U.S. as an exchange student, bringing me one step closer to my dreams. After 2 grueling years of retaking classes, Jiangqing sat for the college entrance exams once again. The night before the exams, Jiangqing called me from someone else's phone, pleading pitifully, "Qingqing, I'll get into your university, just wait for me." I said nothing and hung up without hesitation. Pre-exam emotions are crucial. The more I ignored him, the more agitated and unstable his mindset became. Come to me for emotional comfort, in your dreams. As it turned out, Jiangqing had exhausted all his luck during his first college entrance exam. Even after giving his all during the retake year, he still underperformed on the very first subject. That noon, I reposted an article about Gaokao cheating techniques to my alt account's social feed with the caption, "Cheating methods are getting alarmingly sophisticated these days, impossible to guard against them all." Jiangqing secretly added my alternate account as a classmate, thinking I wouldn't notice. Little did he know I was fully aware of everything. That message was deliberately posted for him to see. The shock of failing the exam pushed Jiangqing to the edge. Inspired by my social media post, he actually resorted to buying answers online and got caught red-handed by the proctor. Jiangqing's cheating was recorded in his permanent file, banning him from college entrance exams for 3 years, a stain that would follow him for life. When Jiangqing learned the verdict, he didn't make a scene, just locked himself alone in his room. A few days later, I received a message, "Qingqing, everything I'm going through now is karma, isn't it?" I wonder how much he remembers from his past life, whether he can still see himself at the peak of success, radiating confidence and ambition. If he can, the stark contrast would be enough to torment him for the rest of his life. But none of this concerns me anymore. I'm about to study abroad. On my departure day, both Mom and Dad saw me off at the airport, reminding me to take good care of myself overseas. Just submit it first. You can always delete your application at the last minute if you change your mind. As past me's family was bidding tearful farewells, the cries of infants and toddlers suddenly echoed from nearby. Instinctively turning around, I saw a nouveau riche-looking man viciously slap his wife across the face, roaring, "Useless woman, all you've given me are worthless daughters, shut them up now or I'll throw them all out." The beaten woman dared not make a sound, only patting the infant in her arms repeatedly. A sobbing toddler of about 2 or 3 kept tugging at her skirt, crying "Mama." Upon closer look, her slightly swollen belly revealed she was carrying yet another child. That figure, that presence, it finally dawned on me. The woman before me was Lin Xiaoxiao, whom I hadn't seen in years. In my past life, she'd flaunted her pregnant belly before me just like this, though in this lifetime, I wonder whose child it is. My mind swirling with thoughts, Mother tugged at my sleeve. "Ching ching, it's time to go." I nodded, turned to bid farewell to my parents, and walked toward the security checkpoint nearby. The past no longer matters. What truly counts is that my life is now filled with boundless promise. Story 2. When the nanny's daughter brought a man back, the bullet comments in midair were filled with excitement. The male and female leads are both reborn. The sweet love is starting. The female supporting character is so shameless. If it weren't for the male lead's bone cancer that required surgery fees, how could the male lead marry her out of gratitude just for the female supporting character's little money? That's right, it was a disease that could be cured by one surgery. But in the previous life, the female lead had to be the male lead's canary for 8 years. She was so wronged. Fortunately, after the female supporting character's family went bankrupt, the male lead finally realized that the only person he loved was the female lead. And he immediately divorced and grandly married the female lead. The male lead truly lives up to his role. Born into a poor family, he swallowed up the female supporting character's family property by himself and became the richest man in one fell swoop. I'm so satisfied with this plot. I took a look at Jiao Jiao, who was no longer carefully flattering, and the cold and proud man. I smiled. One couldn't afford to go to school, and the other couldn't afford to see a doctor. These two, the reborn male and female leads, really came at a bad time. Jiao Jiao held her head high arrogantly, and directly sat on the sofa with the man on her arm. She glanced at me sideways, the corners of her mouth curving up. "Su Yang, this is Xiao He. He's my boy friend. Don't be a mistress even though you know he has a girlfriend." She looked at me confidently, as if she was certain that I would fall in love with the man beside her. At this moment, the bullet comments in front of me flashed by rapidly, all of them praises. So satisfying. They confessed their love to each other and got together right after being reborn, and they won't miss each other for 8 years because of the interference of the female supporting character. In the previous life, the female supporting character took a fancy to the male lead's face, while the male lead needed money for treatment. She forced the male lead to promise to marry her with money, making the female lead be a canary outside for 8 years. It's so heart-wrenching. Fortunately, for the sake of the female lead, after taking over the female supporting character's family company, the male lead schemed to make the female supporting character's parents die in a car accident and sent the female supporting character to a mental hospital. In the plot, the grand wedding of the male lead and the female lead was so magnificent that even the princess of the neighboring royal family envied it. This is simply the best example of a two-way relationship. It's so sweet that it's killing me. I frowned and looked at the two people snuggling together in front of me. The man straightened his back, looked at me calmly, exuding a powerful aura around him. It was out of place with his pale cheeks and the cheap shirt. And Jiao Jiao was in a posture of being sure of victory, with a half-smile on her face. The bullet comments kept popping up. I finally understood. I was the vicious female supporting character they were talking about. In the plot, Xiao He said he didn't have a girlfriend, and I directly took out 1 million yuan and said I could help him with his medical treatment, but the condition was that he would be with me. Although Xiao He agreed, he had always had a beloved white moonlight in his heart. Jiao Jiao, the daughter of a nanny and a husband who married into her family. Just like that, the two of them had an affair right under my nose for 8 years. They obtained status, money, and fame because of me. After my parents passed away, they joined forces to short me and casually forged a report saying that I had a mental illness. They sent me to a mental hospital. But the two of them took my family's property and publicly declared their love. Unfortunately, when they went on a honeymoon abroad, the plane they were on had an accident. They both died, but were reborn at the same time. The first thing they did after being reborn was to come and declare their sovereignty to me, the vicious female supporting character. I sneered sarcastically. Xiao He, who didn't have money to treat his bone cancer, and Jiao Jiao, who relied on my family to make a living. These two really came back to life at a bad time. I called the butler and said calmly, "Oh, Uncle Goo, throw them out." Jiao Jiao froze. And a trace of anger flashed across her face. "Su Yang, why are you being like this? My boyfriend hasn't been feeling well recently, and the rent of our place has also expired. As his girlfriend, of course I have to take care of him. If you drive him away, what will I do?" I raised my eyes indifferently and chuckled. "I understand, I get it. So, I'm driving both of you out. Jiao Jiao, this is my home. Since you have a boyfriend now, you have someone to rely on. And you don't need to mooch off me anymore." Jiao Jiao was completely stunned. She looked at Xiaohe in a panic. The bullet comments were instantly filled with question marks. What's wrong with the female supporting character? Shouldn't she fall in love at first sight with the male lead and treat the male lead and the female lead to delicious food and good accommodation? Why isn't she following the plot? The male and female leads don't have any money on them now, and if they are driven away, they won't have a place to live. Didn't the female supporting character fall in love at first sight with the male lead? Is she playing hard to get and deliberately trying to attract the male lead's attention? Just wait, she will soon cry and beg the male lead not to leave. Xiaohe coldly raised his head, and his phoenix eyes were cold and sharp. "Su Yang, I know you deliberately want to attract my attention, so you're deliberately driving me and Jiao Jiao away, but in this life, I won't yield to your filthy money. If you stay put and don't make me angry, I'll leave you a place in this house. By the way, I'm used to sleeping in the master bedroom. You clean out your things yourself." I couldn't help rolling my eyes. The bullet comments were so self-righteous, and this male lead was no better. Did they forget to bring their brains back after being reborn? Why should he leave me a place in my own house? My face turned cold, and with a wave of my hand, the bodyguards drove Jiao Jiao and Xiaohe out. The two of them were furious, and the harsh words they shouted were blocked outside by the door. I casually stopped the secondary card I gave to Jiao Jiao. My best friend Lu Shi was extremely excited when she heard about it. "What happened? How could you finally see through Jiao Jiao's ugly true colors?" Lu Shi had always disliked Jiao Jiao, but I was nostalgic, and we had the bond of growing up together, so I didn't care about giving her a secondary card and letting her spend as she pleased. For girls, it's normal to have vanity and like beautiful things, but if she didn't know her place and threatened my interests, then she couldn't blame me for turning against her and driving her away. As for whether she had a place to live and how she would survive, that was not within the scope of my consideration. I smiled and took Lu Shi's arm, changing the subject. "Manager Lin just told me the other day that Yang Su has some new jewelry and clothes in stock. Let's go take a look. If we like anything, we'll buy it and put it on my account." Lu Shi's eyes curved with a smile. "Miss Su is so generous. By the way, my brother is coming back from abroad today. I'll ask him to come pick us up later." I nodded, and then saw the bullet comments start cheering. "There's a welcome banquet at the male supporting character's house tonight. As long as the male and female leads make a connection with the male supporting character, they can return to the glory of their previous life." God. The male lead took the female lead out for shopping. His domineering president aura is so attractive to me. Although the well-known domestic clothing studio Yang Su is under the name of the female supporting character, it will sooner or later fall into the hands of the male lead. It's just borrowing 2 sets of dresses in advance. The female supporting character surely won't care about such a small thing, right? Borrowing dresses from my studio. I looked up in surprise and saw Jiao Jiao walking into the store with Xiaohe on her arm downstairs. Xiaohe ordered the staff without even raising his head, "Bring the latest season's dresses here. Also, take Miss Jiao Jiao to get a styling done." Jiao Jiao directly walked upstairs, but was stopped by the sharp-eyed manager Lin. "Sorry, there are distinguished guests upstairs. Please wait in the hall for a while." "You too." Jiao Jiao looked unhappy. "Which distinguished guests? Can they be more important than me? Don't you recognize who I am?" Manager Lin was so anxious that he was sweating profusely and quickly ran up to ask for my opinion. This store was under my name. There were some high-end custom-made dresses and jewelry downstairs. Upstairs was my private area for styling. I had brought Jiao Jiao here a few times before, and when I was in a good mood, I also gave her a lot of jewelry. But now that she had been driven out of my house, why couldn't she recognize her own situation? I said calmly, "Since they're here to buy things, they're guests, you should serve them as you normally would, charge them at the original price. If they can't pay, then call the police." Manager Lin nodded, went downstairs, found an excuse, and took Jiao Jiao to the VIP room on the first floor. Lu Shi and I weren't idle either. While watching the 2 monkeys downstairs and pointing at them, we also selected the new products of the season. As soon as we finished selecting and went downstairs, we saw the staff stopping the two who were about to leave. Sorry, Miss He, the total consumption today is 58,020 yuan. How would you like to pay? Jiao Jiao's shocked voice was a bit shrill. Make me pay. Didn't you recognize who I am? When I come to your store on weekdays, I just charge it to my account directly. Sorry, Miss He, we can't do that anymore in the store now. Please make the payment. Jiao Jiao took out her black card unhappily, but was told the bad news that it had been frozen and couldn't be used. She then panicked. How could this be? This card belongs to Su Yang. She raised her head and happened to meet my eyes. The bullet comments also started scolding me at the same time. The female supporting character is so disgusting. She even cares about just over 50,000 yuan with the female lead, in the previous life. The female supporting character used her filthy money to stop the male and female leads from falling in love. Now she still can't change her ways. She just wants the male lead to yield to her. Why doesn't the female supporting character understand that love is about giving, not taking? How could the male lead take a fancy to someone like the female supporting character who calculates interests like this? Obviously, the male lead Xiao He also thought of me this way. He glanced at me with disgust, as if he was speaking to Jiao Jiao, but actually speaking to me. It's okay, Jiao Jiao. Some people just like to act up. She thinks that by freezing the card, she can force me to bow my head and marry her, but she doesn't know that the more she acts up, the fewer men will like her. But tonight's banquet is very important. Jiao Jiao, you'd better pawn this necklace first. Xiao He stroked Jiao Jiao's cheek affectionately and promised. I know you love this necklace very much. Don't worry, after tonight, I'll make you be able to spend money freely again, then we'll redeem this necklace. I was extremely speechless. They were calculating the auction of the necklace right in front of me. The owner of the necklace, he was really asking for trouble. Lu Shi didn't hesitate at all. She stepped forward and tore the necklace off Jiao Jiao. Can you have some shame? This necklace belongs to Su Yang. Give it back to her quickly. Jiao Jiao glared at me resentfully after feeling the pain. Su Yang, it's bad enough that you're making me homeless now. Why are you even snatching back the necklace you gave me? What you gave me is mine. What I do with it is my business. You're meddling in other people's business, aren't you? I kindly reminded her. Jiao Jiao, this necklace was specially designed for me by a top designer. It's unique. And it also has my name's initials on it. Back then, you said it was nice and begged me to lend it to you for a few days, and I agreed, but I didn't promise to give it to you, did I? If you refuse to return it, then I have to call the police. Jiao Jiao's face turned extremely ugly, but she didn't have the nerve to discuss the ownership of the necklace with me. I also directly took back all the remaining jewelry on her body. She became penniless again. Manager Lin was very observant and said, You too, can you make the payment now? If you can't pay, please return the things to us. Jiao Jiao anxiously tugged at Xiao He's sleeve. He, do you still have money on you? Hurry up and pay. Aren't you always generous in spending? Jiao Jiao seemed to think that all that generosity was with my money. Her questioning voice stopped abruptly. She angrily glared at me, who was watching the scene with amusement. It's all Su Yang's fault. She even cares about some used jewelry. She even snatched back the necklace that I've been wearing for 3 months. Xiao He, don't just stand there. Think of a way quickly. We can't return these things. I can't afford to lose this face. I didn't say anything. Lu Shi smiled beside me and shouted, If you can't afford to lose this face, then buy them all. Buying them is also giving money to Yang Yang. How great. It serves 2 purposes. The two of them had an ugly expression for a long time. Finally, Xiao He gritted his teeth and put down the clothes, and pulled Jiao Jiao to leave. Don't bully the young man because he's poor. Just you wait. As soon as I meet young Master Lu, I'll have money immediately. Before he could finish his words, the young Master Lu he mentioned, Lu Shi's biological brother Lu Sun, walked in. Meet me, Yang Yang. What's going on? Xiao He's face showed excitement when he saw Lu Sun, and he and Jiao Jiao immediately surrounded Lu Sun. Mr. Lu, hello, my surname is Xiao. Xiao He, this is my girlfriend, Jiao Jiao. I wonder if Mr. Lu has time. I have a cooperation I want to discuss with you. The bullet comments also became excited because of Xiao He's actions. The male lead is so great. He takes the initiative and seizes the business opportunity, turning the tables and becoming the master. He deserves to be the richest man. The male supporting character returned to the country at this time in the previous life and won the development project in the southern part of the city, and his net worth increased by several hundred million. Although the male lead got to know the male supporting character through the female supporting character in the previous life, now that the male lead has the memories of the previous life, it's not easy for him to accumulate connections again and reach the peak again. I just smiled and ignored it. These bullet comments were too naive. Could he accumulate connections again just because he had the memories of the previous life? Those connections of his, weren't they all mine? And Lu Xun's reaction didn't disappoint me either. He sized up Xiao He suspiciously and didn't even extend his hand. He directly ignored them and walked up to us. Xiao Shi, Yang, have you finished shopping? Did I come a bit early? Lu Xun's ignoring made Xiao He and the other person feel so embarrassed that they didn't know what to do. Jiao awkwardly covered her chest and didn't dare to look up. Xiao He looked at us with a complicated expression. They obviously hadn't yet broken away from the luxurious daily life of their previous life. They still thought they were the high and mighty wealthy nobles, but everything they once had was also because of me. They looked down on my family's money. Yet they enjoyed the material comforts brought by me. They were being hypocritical. I smiled and directly asked the manager to wrap up 7 or 8 dresses that were suitable for me and Lu Shi. Lu Xun naturally took them. I went to pick a tie and handed it to Lu Xun. Brother Lu Xun came to pick us up as soon as he returned to the country. This is a thank you gift. Lu Xun smiled and immediately took off his tie and put on the new one. Yang has a good taste. I like it very much. Thank you. I smiled and glanced at the 2 people beside me with gloomy expressions. I directly led the others to leave. Stop. I turned around and looked at Xiao He, whose face was livid. The female supporting character is so scheming. She deliberately gave a gift to another man in front of the male lead. This method of goading is really insidious. The male lead can't get Lu Xun's project, so he's starting late. What should he do? No. Could it be that the male lead will yield to the female supporting character again and make the female lead suffer for another 8 years? Does the female supporting character even deserve it? I was speechless inwardly and then saw that Xiao He seemed to have suffered a great humiliation. He walked up to me with a look of unwillingness on his face, gave me a fierce glare, and then turned his head away, closing his eyes and saying, Su Yang, you're really capable this time. I admit that what you did has indeed caught my attention. All you want is for me to be your boyfriend. If you let me participate in Lu Xun's new project, I can consider having a meal with you. Before I could react, Lu Xun clicked his tongue in surprise. Yang, this toad wants to have a meal with you and even demands to participate in my new project first. Where did you meet this brainless person? Lu Xun's sarcastic words directly stunned Xiao He. I held back my laughter and gave a brief explanation. He's the boyfriend of my nanny's daughter. I'm not familiar with him. I also own the luxury store next door. Do you want to go shopping together? Xiao He watched helplessly as I went on a shopping spree. It seemed that the humility and flattery from the past 8 years in his previous life suddenly became clear, reminding him of his current embarrassment. His face turned paler and paler. Su Yang, help me. Xiao He weakly uttered these words, and the next second, he felt dizzy and fell to the ground. But when he woke up in the hospital ward, Xiao He only saw Jiao complaining nonstop. Why couldn't you faint at any other time? You had to faint at that moment. You have no idea. Those store clerks were staring at me like I was a fraudster, afraid that I would try to extort them. How many years has it been since I, Jiao, have suffered such contempt? Xiao He, you promised me that you would never let me suffer even the slightest grievance in this lifetime. Xiao He looked down at the needle mark on his hand, feeling irritable and distracted. The beautiful wish he had envisioned when he was reborn, to return all the humiliation he had endured for 8 years to Su Yang, had only lasted for a few short hours, and then it completely fell apart. For some reason, he suddenly remembered the time when he first met Su Yang. He had fainted once as well. It was Su Yang who personally sent him to the hospital and took care of him closely. The young lady who had never done any housework before peeled an apple with her own hands for the first time. It was all uneven and looked extremely comical. Xiao He felt a sense of loss, and finally, he could only close his eyes and fall into a deep sleep. At least he didn't have to sleep on the streets that night. After seeing all the bullet comments, feeling sorry for the male lead and showing concern for the female lead, I received a call from Manager Lin. Then I understood the situation. I see. Remember to check the surveillance cameras to see if any valuable items were taken away. I hung up the phone and took the wine from Lu Xun's hand. Brother Lu Xun, are you back in the country for work this time? Yes. There's a project in the southern part of the city that I need to follow up on. I nodded and originally wanted to remind Lu Xun to be wary of Xiao He, but then I thought, Lucen wasn't a fool. He was 6 years older than me and had already taken over his family's company. He had seen plenty of strange people. How could he be intimidated by someone as self-righteous and arrogant as Xiaohe? Lucen took a sip of his wine and continued, once this project is done, I don't plan to leave either. From now on, I should be staying in the country. The bullet comments were even more surprised than I was. This plot doesn't seem right. Didn't the male supporting character go abroad after finishing the project in the southern part of the city in the previous life? Why has he decided to stay now? Will his staying become an obstacle for the male lead? I remember that the male supporting character liked the female supporting character. In the previous life, when he returned to the country and learned that the female supporting character was already with the male lead, he left without looking back. Could it be that because the male lead isn't with the female supporting character, the plot has changed? No. If the male supporting character gets together with the female supporting character, what will happen to the male and female leads? The male lead hasn't become the richest man yet. I found it a bit ridiculous. Do I have to love Xiaohe, the male lead, and be a stepping stone on his path to success? I'm worth 1 billion yuan after all. What kind of high-quality partner can't I find? As for Lucen, I was skeptical about what the bullet comments said. After all, Lucen was well known in the industry for being indifferent to women. Just because he had a good relationship with me because of Lu Shi, he couldn't be considered to like me, right? After the banquet ended, I suddenly became very interested and posted a status on my social media. It was a 9-grid post, all showing the luxurious scenes of the banquet. Not long after, I saw that Jiao Jiao also posted a status on her social media. In the photo, she was holding Xiaohe's hand tightly. As long as we're together, any difficulties and hardships can be easily overcome. The bullet comments were filled with laughter, mocking me for failing in my scheming. The self-righteous female supporting character thought that by stopping the male and female leads from attending the banquet, she could break them up. She's just a clown. I raised my eyebrows. Really, I wonder how much longer Xiaohe's bone cancer can last. But I didn't expect that half an hour later, I received a call from my mother. Su Yang, you're becoming more and more unreasonable. Jiao Jiao just wanted to introduce a new friend to you. How could you ask someone to throw them out? I frowned and sensed something was wrong. Under my questioning, I finally found out. It turned out that Aunt Jiang, Jiao Jiao's mother, called my mother every day on the pretext of reporting my recent situation. Every day, she had been playing tricks. She had put all the blame on me. No wonder I always felt that my parents were becoming more and more disappointed in me. While they always praised Jiao Jiao for being sensible, Jiao Jiao had even hypocritically comforted me, saying that I was just being too sensitive and that I was a bit estranged from my parents because I hadn't seen them for a long time. I had a conversation with my parents for over an hour, refuting every piece of evidence that Jiao Jiao and her mother had used to slander me with valid reasons and evidence. I even told them about the incident where she brought a strange man home and tried to live in my house, afraid that they wouldn't believe me. I directly retrieved the surveillance footage and sent it to them. They finally understood and said that they would leave everything to me to handle, and they would take the responsibility if anything happened. My heart felt warm, and I directly asked someone to kick open Aunt Jiang's door. When Jiao Jiao brought Xiaohe to my house that day, Aunt Jiang wasn't at home, so I had forgotten to deal with her. Since I was going to drive people away, I naturally had to do it thoroughly. Aunt Jiang looked a bit dazed and asked me with a look of displeasure, "Miss Su, didn't you have enough to eat at the banquet? It's not appropriate for you to ask me to make you a midnight snack so late, is it? I'm your family's nanny, not your family's slave. I also have the right to personal freedom." I sneered coldly and found the surveillance video that I had saved on my phone for a long time. "Sure, I'll give you back your personal freedom. Our family's place can't accommodate a big shot like you. You're fired. Get out of here right now." When Aunt Jiang heard this, her calm face finally showed panic, and she kept asking me for the reason. I impatiently shoved some old videos in her face. "Just because you stole quite a few antiques from the warehouse before, I have the right to fire you. Do you understand?" When I found out about this before, I originally wanted to tell my parents, but Aunt Jiang had indeed worked in my family for many years, and those antiques weren't particularly valuable. I gently reminded her at that time, and later she secretly returned them on her own, so I didn't make a fuss about it. But obviously, being too lenient would only make these small-minded people take advantage. Aunt Jiang was driven out of the house by me that night. Early the next morning, Jiao Jiao came to question me, but she came at the wrong time. I was busy asking someone to take out the bags and jewelry that I had lent to Jiao Jiao before and take inventory of them. Then I noticed something was wrong. Several limited edition Hermes bags had been replaced with counterfeits, and some diamond jewelry had also been replaced with cubic zirconia. I squinted my eyes and looked at Jiao Jiao, who had been talking nonstop just now. She panicked and turned her head away, trying to run. She was directly stopped by my bodyguards. I suddenly remembered that Aunt Jiang had accidentally let slip something before. She said that she had bought a large flat in the city center for 6 million yuan and had already paid a down payment of 2 million yuan. But although Aunt Jiang and Jiao Jiao lived and ate in my house, their monthly salary was only 10,000 yuan, and they also had a gambling-addicted husband to support. Where could they have saved 2 million yuan? It was obvious what the money from replacing the bags had been used for. With a cold face, I made a call and summoned the appraisers. They checked everything and estimated the amount. The total is 258 million yuan. I'll round it up for you. It's 6 million. When will you pay it back? Jiao Jiao got angry instead. Su Yang. Just because the man you love doesn't love you but only loves me, you're going to target me like this. Those things were originally mine. What I do with them is my business. Why do you ask me to pay back the money? The bullet comments also criticized me one after another. That's right. In the previous life, the female supporting character gave so many things to the female lead that there was hardly enough room in one bedroom. And she didn't ask for them back. Now, just because the male lead isn't with her, she's targeting the female lead. She's so two-faced. The female supporting character has a mentality of female competition. Isn't she afraid that when the male lead finds out about this, he'll deal with her severely? I chuckled and threw the bill in Jiao Jiao's face. All these were paid for with my card, and the ownership has never been yours. You have 1 month. If you can't pay it back, we'll see each other in court. I was too lazy to argue with Jiao Jiao and asked someone to throw her out. Then I asked my private lawyer to handle the matter fully. After dealing with Jiao Jiao, I still felt stuffy in my chest. Just then, Lucien invited me to have dinner and said that he wanted to cooperate with me to develop the project in the southern part of the city. Of course, I wouldn't refuse the money that came to me. After we had been eating for a while, the bullet comments started feeling sorry for the male lead again. It's so difficult. Is the male lead really going to yield to the female supporting character? Sigh. But the male lead still has bone cancer now and doesn't have the money for the surgery. He originally had a chance to seek help from the male supporting character, but it was ruined by the female supporting character. I just want to see the sweet love between the male and female leads. Why do we have to torture our male and female leads? I frowned and then saw Xiaohe walking over. Xiaohe put his hands in his pockets and stood in front of me, looking down at me. There was nothing but hatred in his eyes. He glanced at me and then closed his eyes in disgust. Su Yang, I admit that you're very capable. I know you love me, so you deliberately disrupted the situation and targeted Jiao Jiao on purpose. Well, I'll give you a chance. What I said yesterday still stands. You pay for my medical expenses. When I'm cured, I can reluctantly break up with Jiao Jiao and be your boyfriend for 3 years. Xiaohe paused for a moment. It seemed that he thought this was a very humiliating decision, and Healy emphasized his tone. Only 3 years. This is my bottom line. I laughed out loud and asked him in return, excuse me, when did I ever say that I liked you? Xiaohe smiled and said confidently, you don't have to say it, I already know. Su Yang, I know you very well. You fell in love with me at first sight and didn't hesitate to break up. Before he could finish his words, he was interrupted. Lucien pulled me behind him and looked at Xiaohe unhappily. Why are you again? Didn't anyone look for you when you ran out of the mental hospital? Xiaohe suppressed his smile, and his tone became extremely cold. Lucien, it's not your place to interfere in the matter between me and Su Yang. Who do you think you are? The bullet comments praised the male lead for being domineering and handsome, but I couldn't help but sigh. Xiaohe obviously still couldn't accept his current status and was still holding a grudge about Lucien ignoring him yesterday, but he still didn't understand the truth. He was now penniless and his life was in danger. He had no right to challenge me at all. Just because I'm Su Yang's suitor and because my family and the Su family are old friends, of course I have the right. With one sentence, the argument was over, but I underestimated Xiaohe's narcissism. He sneered, Su Yang, I know you're still brooding over the fact that I'm with Jiao Jiao, so you deliberately asked Lucien to provoke me. It doesn't matter, I don't mind. What I said just now still stands, as long as you, no need. I directly interrupted him and said disdainfully, you're penniless and blindly narcissistic. Even if I were blind, I wouldn't take a fancy to you. I don't know if my words penniless stimulated Xiaohe. For more than a month after that day, he didn't appear in front of me again. I was happy to be at leisure and focused on enjoying my vacation, but the bullet comments would occasionally pop up to report the recent situation of the male and female leads. Xiao he had no money and no longer had me, the vicious female supporting character, as his backer. He could only rely on Jiao Jiao, the female lead, to support him, in theory. Jiao Jiao's biological mother could have saved some money over the years, but her husband was a gambler, and they couldn't save any money even if they had some. Jiao Jiao didn't even have any pocket money. She used to rely on the secondary card I gave her to live. Now, facing a debt of more than 2 million yuan, she was almost driven crazy. They had just bought a large flat but didn't have time to move in, so they had to sell it urgently to get the money. The three of them finally squeezed into a rented room with a monthly rent of 500 yuan and tried to find ways to work to make a living. Naturally, they didn't have the time to cause trouble for me, and the bullet comments, of course, put the blame on me. They blamed me for not being willing to spend money on their male and female leads. Every time I saw these words, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. When a businessman invests, they always expect some return. Either emotional value or commercial value, but these two people wanted to live off others while acting arrogantly. Why should I waste my money on them? Just as the university was about to start, I guessed that Jiao Jiao probably didn't have the money to pay the tuition fees. As expected, there would be no more interaction with them in the future. After Lu Shi and I finished tidying up the dormitory and just went downstairs, we were bumped into by Jiao Jiao holding a phone. Before I could react, my face appeared in Jiao Jiao's live stream. Everyone, look, it's her. This is the bitch who has made my life miserable. I frowned and looked up at Jiao Jiao. In just 1 month, Jiao Jiao had changed a lot. Her arrogant attitude was completely gone, replaced by an unmaskable look of fatigue and aging. Even the cheap cosmetics couldn't hide her dark circles. Jiao Jiao was aggressive and held up the phone, angrily scolding me as the culprit. She said that I bullied her just because my family was rich. What does she have besides being richer than me? She wasn't as pretty as me since childhood, and she wasn't as good at pleasing people as me. Her parents both like me, and even the man she likes only loves me. She's jealous of me, so she used her connections, bribed the school, and forced me to drop out. Do you know how many opportunities for fun I gave up and how many cram schools I attended to get into this university? She, Su Yang, grew up with a silver spoon in her mouth. Yet she even wants to deprive me of my only chance to get ahead. The bullet comments also fell for Jiao Jiao's act, passionately denouncing me as the evil capitalist. The gap between the rich and the poor is indeed the best weapon for public opinion. The other students around also stopped, engaged in heated discussions, and pointed at me, just as I was about to refute. Lu Shi slapped Jiao Jiao across the face without hesitation before I could speak. Your act is so old-fashioned. Aren't you tired of it? You said our Su Yang didn't let you study. Show the evidence. We have evidence of you stealing and selling Su Yang's luxury goods, including the surveillance video of your mother stealing and selling antiques when she was a nanny in the Su family. Do you want us to show them all in your live stream? And your boyfriend, who is penniless and suffering from bone cancer, has the audacity to ask Su Yang to pay for his treatment. You keep calling her an evil capitalist. If you don't value the capitalist's filthy money, why do you keep living off others and begging for money? You've lived in Su Yang's house since you were a child, eating and using the Su family's money. You even wanted to sell her necklace for money to buy clothes. Why don't you tell these things in the live stream? The bullet comments in mid-air suddenly went blank, and everyone fell silent, but the bullet comments in the live stream kept scrolling. The other students around also kept sizing up Jiao Jiao. Since she didn't refute, they naturally had their own conclusions. Tisk, TSK, TSK, I didn't expect such a big reversal, I said, just looking at that young lady's appearance. She doesn't need to be jealous of this girl, greedy and insatiable, always creating public opinion. She's really crazy about becoming famous. Xiao he rushed over with a pale face. Gasping for breath, he pulled Jiao Jiao aside. Jiao Jiao, stop making a scene. Turn off the live stream now. He lowered his voice, but I still heard him say, this is too embarrassing. This sentence irritated Jiao Jiao. Don't I do all this for you? You've been eating and using my things all the time, and you're always in the hospital. What else can you give me besides empty promises? The bullet comments suddenly reappeared, but they no longer blindly supported Jiao Jiao, the female lead, as before. What the female lead said is a bit too much. It really hurts the male lead's self-esteem. She clearly knows what the male lead cares about the most. I always feel that the female lead is very different from the previous life. The female lead in the previous life was very considerate and sensible. In the previous life, the female lead was the beneficiary and didn't need to give anything. Now she has become the one who has to give, so her mindset is naturally different. I smiled dismissively. Stepping into a life where every penny has to be carefully calculated at an early age, how could their relationship be as sweet as the bullet comments said? In the previous life, their 8-year love affair was based on the material foundation I provided. Now they are struggling to survive, so how can they have the mood for love and ambition? After watching enough of the farce, I urged Lucy to leave. Lucien just sent a message. He's already at the school gate, he should be here by now. Let's go quickly. Lucy raised her eyebrows and teased me with a smile. Oh, now you know my brother's schedule better than I do, his own sister. Should I change my address for you soon? I smiled, neither confirming nor denying. Lucien had already made his feelings clear and asked me to give him a chance. I didn't reject him completely and had started to get to know him. We had just walked a few steps when Xiao suddenly turned around and grabbed me. Su-yang. He glared at me and closed his eyes resignedly. I admit it, you won this time. My condition is getting worse. The cancer has started to spread, and the doctor said it can't be delayed any longer. As long as you're willing to pay for my surgery, I'll agree to whatever you ask. The loud engine sound of a sports car drowned out Xiaohe's words. Lucien got out of the Koenigsegg and quickly slapped Xiaohe's hand away. Why are you here again, you crazy person? If you really can't find your way back, I can find someone to help you, but you can't take advantage of Yang Yang's good nature and keep